show or literary program every month featuring 3 to 5 new authors. And it doesn't mean it's your first book, but you're a new author, meaning you have a new book, you have a new baby. You have a new book baby out. So that's what we want to support, especially right now during, COVID. Gosh.
Come here, cheeky boy.
Sorry about that. I thought I had them tucked away. Anyway.
No problem, Jessica. Anytime with kids is a good time.
Well, I have them all the time, so I wish I shared that enthusiasm. Well, anyway, but this is our answer to help authors during quarantine, to help promote their books, share their work, help network with other writers, and the beauty of one of the positive things, right, of this time is that we're all online and we're all connecting, and it also brings us out of our communities and exposes us to folks that we might not have had the opportunity to meet or, have a reading with or whatnot. So that's really cool. So we're happy to be able to offer that to authors. And so the way this show is going to work, everyone. So we're featuring Margo Perin, the author of Plexiglass. And we're featuring Karo, the author of Gathering Grandmother's Bones. So I happen to have her book here. Yeah, snaps. And we're also featuring Juan, the author of The Beat of an Immigrant, Chicano. Snaps. And so I have questions for each author. I'm going to introduce them to you individually. And so it's going to be individual, same questions for everyone. And then, I feel we'll have a discussion. It'll be a panel discussion, dialogue with each other. And then we'll hear an excerpt, a reading from each of the authors as well. So if you're watching this, or if you're watching this, you have some questions or something you want to ask the authors, you can go ahead and send it to me in the chat, and I can ask for you. And also they might be able to read it there at the chat, but I'll be monitoring it. That way you all can just relax, and I'll do the other part so that you don't have to worry. Let's see. I think that's it. So we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen because we have that now. We can share information, and it's pretty easy nowadays, right? So here we go. I'm going to share, and I've been getting some practice because I've been teaching on Zoom with the schools and stuff. So it's been pretty helpful. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I have a lot of windows open. So here we go. So first I want to introduce you to Margo Perin. Margo is celebrating her newest book called Plexiglass. That's what we'll be talking about today. It's a collection of interrelated poems incorporating the voices of men and women held captive by the U.S.-American prison industrial complex. Plexiglass is Margo's first book of poetry. Her novel, The Opposite of Hollywood, tells the story of her childhood being raised by her Donald Trump-like sociopath criminal father. And Margo's poetry was anthologized in Heyday Pen's Fighting Words, and in 2012 she was commissioned by Shimon Addy, the artist, and the San Francisco Arts Commission, Bayleaf, to create a poem for the Spiral of Gratitude public memorial to honor the families and friends of police officers who were killed or wounded in the line of duty. Spiral of Gratitude is a permanent installation in the foyer of San Francisco's public safety building. The poem also appears on a plaque next to the wall of memes. That is amazing. That is really amazing. She's been a nominee for the Pushcart Prize. She's also a poetry teacher with California Poets in the Schools, teaching youth and teaching folks that have been either incarcerated or perhaps formerly incarcerated, and also youth that have have been on probation and are just going through that journey. So this is Miss Margo. So I'm going to start with you, Margo. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. But the author of Plexiglass, welcome, Margo Perin.
Thank you.
Y'all can do the thumbs up. You can do the thumbs up in your reactions toolbar or hearts. Um, so my questions, I have the same questions for all of you. First, I want to thank you for being on the show, the New Authors Showcase, and I'm really excited. So this is your first poetry book.
Yeah.
So, and I know I've seen Margo stack. She has stacks of books that she's a published author, but this is your first poetry collection. That's really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. So I want to know, how did this book come together? How did Plexiglass come together?
Well, I've taught for a long time inside prisons and jails. And I, of course, was very struck by what I was seeing in there and about who is being incarcerated. So at one point, I had a huge manuscript, which I started to call my magnus opus, never to be finished is, because it was like so long and it was so unwieldy. So it was in 3 sections. One was about my own, about me, about my own sort of past on the run, my childhood. The middle was about how trauma affects the body. And the last part was about what I saw when I was inside working with men and women who were incarcerated.
Wow.
And then, and I would work on it and then not work on it, work on it and not work on it, because it was just too much to really deal with. I was so overwhelmed by it. So when the pandemic started, like a lot of people, I was just in freeze fall, couldn't really do anything. And then one day I thought, if I don't write, I'm just going to go crazy. So I just wrote in my journal, and then I realized that this was what I wanted to work on, because I feel so strongly about it. And also with the awareness that's been growing a lot with Black Lives Matter, I just thought people have got to hear from people in prison, because it is mostly Black and brown people, So that's how it happened.
Wow. I love that you said you have this magnum opus and you're just kind of adding to it and adding to it. Like one continuous scroll of poetry. Wow. Yeah, and I think that's amazing. That's a great way to kind of just start cataloging all your poetry, anything that's fresh out of your imagination, your factory, right? And I know personally I tend to scatter my poems throughout journals and things like that and online and everything. I'm like, I know I've written a lot, but it's all lost and I got to gather it. But I love that. I think I'm going to take that idea from you and maybe that'll help me on my journey. I think that's so important that you're sharing the stories of the folks that are imprisoned. Did you say this also included some poems from those that you worked with, or just based on what you've seen and your experience?
It's both, because in 2000 something, maybe 2006, I got a grant from the Creative Work Fund, and I created an anthology of the writings by my students in the county jail. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think I used any. I can't. I've used some lines from that book that I remembered, and I weave in some of the lines that they have in their poems, but also I wove in some of the things that they told me.
Yeah.
So both, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So how did this, I wanted to know a little bit about the publishing journey. How did this book get published? Did you already have folks in mind, or were you, did someone reach out to you and say, we want a collection of your work, or how did your publishing journey go?
I'm so glad you're asking that question, because there are so many gatekeepers and a lot of voices are silenced, as we all know. So what happened with me, I went on a journey with my memoir, which is, I'm calling an autobiographical novel, because I changed the names of my siblings in it. And, I didn't really want to expose their names. But during that process, I had 3 different agents who tried to sell that book. And each time, like, I got really close and then it didn't happen. And the last time that happened, it was 1 year where 5 main publishers were interested in the book. And each time something happened and the book wasn't published. It was even at the purchasing stage. And I was really devastated by that because, I'd finally like broken the taboo of the secrecy and the pathology of how I grew up. And then I felt like the world was silencing me. And I got breast cancer after that. And I think it was part of just the devastation I felt. So, years later, my partner and I decided we were going to found our own press to publish Unheard Voices. And Karo is in there. And she has a fabulous, I love your work, Karo. So you're in there, So we decided to do that. So, I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to go back to that book, The Opposite of Hollywood. But again, it was that feeling, if I never publish this, it's never going to feel right. It's like if you're pregnant and you never have the baby. So I thought, I'm going to publish this for me. So I'm one of the people I published, and it was a really great thing to take, I remember that you take ownership of the means of production. You don't let people silence you. You don't, because I had a book, my first book was published by a mainstream press, by Tartar Penguin, and it was really not a good experience. It was a collection of writings by women, including myself, about their, it was like the shadow side of their relationship with their mothers. And I wanted women from all over. I wanted all ethnicities, all races, all nationalities. And I wanted it to be international. And it was, and then they took out 4 women of color from that book. Yeah. And it got to the point where I was, really putting my foot down, and they said, basically, if you don't do what we want, we're not going to publish it. Yeah, it was really a very ugly experience. So that's another reason I really think that we should publish our own work.
Yeah.
Because don't let anyone silence you, So then when it came to this book, I mean, because this book is plexiglass, it's not about me. And it's about something that's really kind of really pressing politically, socially, economically, racially, all that. Several people said to me, you should definitely send this out for publication. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do it ourselves. And it's very empowering to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Gosh, congratulations and awesome. I mean, you were like an activist the whole way through to see that this book be made and shared. I mean, from the get-go. You said 5 agents on this early on.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible too that you took it into your own hands, and exciting that we have a new and another small press for voices of color, people of color. I mean, that's important because we need to hear all sides. We need to hear everyone's story, and it definitely is healing, to just to hear people's side of everything. I mean, to understand each other, to help us understand.
Because Jessica, when you're teaching the kind of things that your students write, it's like, if we don't publish people like that, how are their voices ever going to be heard? We have the luxury of that because we work with people. We work with so many kids, different ages, adults. We work with so many different people who are never going to have their voices out there unless we put them out there.
Yes. Definitely. Yes, I love it. And yeah, all the perspectives that we get and working with youth too, you see how much they're so attentive to everything. I mean, and there's so much that's just thrown in their face too, but that they are actually understanding their receipt, and they want to be part of that change. They want to be part of that movement to change what's happening in their country, like there's so much injustice. And that also brings me to that this event, this is our second night of 100,000 Poets for Change Los Angeles. To everyone, hi everyone that's joined in. We're getting more folks coming in the show. This is the new author showcase. I'm talking with Margo Perin, the author of Plexiglass. And
Hi, San Juanita.
Hi, San Juanita. And we were talking about her book being an activist book the whole way through. She's worked with populations that were incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, youth and adults, and this shares some of their story as well, through poetic form. And this is 100,000 Poets for Change. This is a world movement in its 10th year, So that means that every year since 2011, actually, all around the country, there's the weekend that there are events, activist events regarding change in their community. So the focuses can be different, and everyone basically just uses their art, their passion, their creativity as a tool. You know, it's true artivism. And that was, and Michael Rothenberg and Terry Carrion, they're the founders of that, of this movement. And it was before artivism was a thing, you know. So, you know, I'm really happy that your book, I mean, this is a great way to kick it off, you know, with such a punch for this event. And you know, that your book was born out of activism, born out of tolerance, and in sharing the narrative from people of color, and that you took it to your own hand, into your own hands, to publish it, to get it out there. And now you have a press where you can support other writers. So that is awesome. You know, it does take a village, I feel.
Yeah.
And like, we all have our skill sets, our talents, and things that are just come naturally to us. And so it's like, hey, if I can do this for me, I probably could do this to help you too. And like, we all, you know, we just all help each other out, and we're all better for it, you know. That's how I feel about that. And actually, that brings me to my last question that I have. And if anyone has any questions for Margo, go ahead and put them in the chat box. I'll you know, I'm happy to ask them on your behalf. But what advice do you have for new authors or upcoming authors, for folks that want to have a book published, that may have a collection that they're pulling together? What advice do you have for new authors?
I say, first of all, don't let anybody stop you, right? And I would also say that be careful that you don't just throw it out to anybody. You know, really consider what's gonna help you kind of birth your book. You don't want to give it to somebody who's not going to get it, someone who doesn't have the sophistication to really get what you're doing, you know. So I'd say, you know, I think it's good to get feedback. You could get feedback from one person. Isabel Allende, she shows her work to her mother, you know, and that's it. So you could have one person, you can have a writer's group, you can have 10 people, but just be very selective who you show your work to, so that you don't start censoring what you really want to get out there. And I think it's great to take ownership of the means of production. You know, I really do. Yeah. I think that, you know, if you know a press that's interested, if you have, you know, friends or whatever who are working in presses who can support you, that's really good too. But it's just don't let anyone stop you. That's all I would say. Make sure it's as good as it can be, and don't let anyone stop you. And you'll find your audience, you will.
That's amazing. I love it. Don't let anyone stop you. Just get that work out there. I love it. No gatekeepers. Just like take it into your own hands. I love that too. That's so important. You know, and I think it, you know, it's a little difficult for small presses sometimes, you know, just to I don't know, to get their name out there, but to also be to be visible, I guess, you know. And I think there needs to be more of us, though. I think there needs to be more small presses, because the more stories that are shared, the better. And, you know, I was thinking about it today, the job of the writer. I mean, I know a lot of us, we write, we're poets, and we write because, you know, it's our passion, our drive, you know, we can't help ourselves. We have something to say, but also it's like a duty. We're documenting our times. We're leaving a legacy behind, you know. It's up to us how far that legacy carries. But I mean, because I know authors, some writers can be shy, introverts, and all that stuff, but you gotta push yourself. You have to, unless you have a bunch of money and you want to just pay someone to do it for you. But even Margo said she had agents, and they flopped on her book, or some folks you can't trust to do justice to your creative work. I mean, you should just take it into your own hands. Be that force behind your book. And
bring other people with you. I think that's really important, you know.
Yes, I love that. Bring other people with you. Good. Yeah, that's great. Let me see if there's any questions from the audience. Thank you for joining, everyone, too. It's great that we have an audience here. Lots of love, lots of great energy here. All the names I'm seeing here,
And
they're
Jessica,
everyone's familiar to me.
I have to say, in case I don't get a chance, thank you. Thank you. You're
Oh,
really a star in the literary universe. And you're so kind and so generous and so loving.
oh,
And I
thank
want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're likewise. You're so beautiful, and I love your spirit and your energy and everything that you do. And I mean, just yeah, all the healing that you've also, you know, have offered to the writers that you've worked with, and that's beautiful too. Yeah. Well, I don't have any other questions. Though some probably will come up in our discussion. But oh, do you have your book? Do you want to hold it up?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Let's see Plexiglass.
This is what it looks like. I've got a little marker in it in case there's time to read later.
Yeah, yo, there will be. Yes, we definitely want to have a time for y'all to have an excerpt to read up to about 10-minute excerpt of your book. So there'll be time. Let me double check on the chat here. Oh, Estella asks, what's the name of your press?
It's called Whoa Nelly Press, like whoa Nelly. Whoa
Whoa,
Nelly Press.
okay, whoa Nelly, Lie or Y?
It's Y.
Oh, okay, whoa Nelly.
Karo, thank you. You put it in the chat here.
Yes, I'm adding in the chat. Yes, so whoa Nelly Press, that is Margo Perin's small press. I'm typing this as I go here. And Rosie says she has a question for you. She asks, how can we get a signed copy of your book?
Well, Rosie, if you can make everybody wear a mask for 6 weeks, we'll be able to see each other again.
Oh, you're right. Everybody in the United States, or at least everybody in California.
Then I will come and visit you and I will personally sign it, Rosie.
Oh, that's so sweet. And then you have it for sale though also on your website, right?
Actually, it's in bookstores and also you can get it on Amazon. But
Okay.
of course, we want to support small book, independent presses. So yeah.
What's your favorite place for them to get it? Which one do you want? Where do you
I
want?
I love Beyond Baroque.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's great. So I ordered for them. Also, we have Copperfields up here in Santa Rosa.
Oh, beautiful.
And
Okay.
Bird and Beckett in San Francisco, they're great too.
Copperfield's bookstore. Okay.
Beyond Baroque. And if you go to Bookshop, I think it's bookshop.org. Is that Beyond Baroque? But also, look, your local bookstore would be great because then when we're able to be out and about, the bookstore will still be there so you can browse,
Oh, Estella says, oh my goodness.
Oh, Livermore.
Estella says, yeah, she lives in Livermore. Yeah.
Well, maybe you just look up your independent bookstore.
Yeah. Yeah, you can grab it from one of your small bookstores. But I went ahead and put the links in there, beyondbaroque.org.
Because you can also get it on Amazon and it's also in Kindle. You can also get a digital copy of it on Amazon.
Oh, that's good. That's great. That way we have all types of mediums covered there.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I will come back. Thank you, Margo. And she was our first author on our September New Author Showcase, author of Plexiglass, and she's gonna give a reading after we do our questions, and I introduce all our authors, and then we'll have a discussion and we'll have a reading. So. Okay, thank you, Margo. And let's see. So let's bring up Karo. We'll do the ladies first. Is that okay with you, Juan? Ladies first? Okay. Okay.
Of course, absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, and if you all have questions for anyone at any time, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll relay it back to the author. And that goes, for anyone that's here. And the authors can dialogue with each other as well. So okay, so Karo. All right, Karo Ska, my sister.
Thank you, Rosie.
Yay! How are you?
Hi, I'm doing okay. I'm Yeah, you know, I'm just having one of those days where I feel like I'm like up and down. I've gone through like so many emotions today. I think it's because I'm like I'm gonna get my period, so I'm like this way and that. I'm like happy, and then I'm like depressed and I'm angry. So like that's been my whole day. I've just been like all over the place.
And I know those days. I know those days. I usually get some crazy munchies. Like I want to eat anything and everything chocolate that could have chocolate in it or looks like chocolate.
Oh yeah, I've got like cookies next to me right now. I've got like peanuts because I'm trying to be healthy. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. And I like your shirt, sis. I got mine too.
yeah.
Exclusive LA Poet Society gear. Which we still have available for anyone that would want one. They are $15. We have black and white. But yeah, I love it. It looks good on you, sister. And it's awesome. So let me bring up your bio. I'm gonna do my share screen, and I want to introduce everyone to Karo. She's the author of Gathering Grandmothers' Bones from Distill Arts. And Distill Arts is so amazing too. They do so much service for writers. Oh my gosh, they will help you get started if you're interested in writing, you've never written before. They'll help you gather your book, put your book together. They'll help you with networking and even editing, I think, and then even publishing. So the whole way through, they'll nurture you as a writer, and I love that. Luis Picardo, you rock, brother, you rock. Um, so yeah, I do. I really admire what he does. Such an amazing and giving person. Um, so here's Karo. This is her website, and I'll put her links here in the chat as well. This is Karo's website, karosca.com. She, or here her pronouns are she, they, is a South Asian and Eastern European non-binary femme poet living on occupied Tongva land with her black cat muse. There's that beautiful cat right there. She hopes to threaten the status quo and build towards an anti-authoritarian, autonomous world. She will be releasing her first chapbook, Gathering Grandmother's Bones, which we have here. So it's already released. And this came out in early 2020. I believe it was in February, I want to say. But she is an amazing poet. And well, let's talk to her. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. But this is her site, karosca.com. I have the about her page there. Let me go to her. Let's see your link here, because I'm going to want to put how you can buy her book. Huh. Oh, I think it's on Distill. I'll put the link up in a moment.
If you click on the little like the little thing on the left, yeah, and then buy my book.
There it is. She's not shy. This is what you need to do, authors. Buy my book. Say it. Buy my book. You know, don't feel bad about it. This is your creative baby and your product, and just think of how many cups of coffee Starbucks sells in 1 hour. Don't feel so bad about saying, hey, buy my book. So yeah, I encourage you all, practice saying it in the mirror. It's okay. All right, so here we are now talking to Karo. She's a poet and author of Gathering Grandmother's Bones, and I'm typing this as I talk. Oh boy. Okay, and here's her link of where how you can buy her book and check it out. So Karo, thank you for being on the show, the New Authors Showcase. It's really a pleasure to have you here. I was really happy to also read your book, and I got to read it live. But you have such a strong voice, and I love your voice too, because you have that like unapologetic, this is real, this is the truth, just no apologies here, you know. And I think that, you know, that's important. That's authentic, and it shows courage, and it shows strength, and it also lets us connect with you so much, you know, on a deeper level. But the same questions to you that I asked Margo. Let's see here. How did your book come together? Tell us about how it came together.
Okay, well, you know, as you mentioned, Distal Arts. So I want to give another shout out to Distal Arts because they are, Luis is amazing. Is amazing. I totally agree with you. And he's the executive director of Distal Arts, and it's a nonprofit that he started. I think I want to say in 2012. So about like 8 years ago, and it's an arts mentorship program that inspires, teaches, and hires emerging artists from underserved communities. And I think it totally goes along with what Margo was saying about how there's a lot of gatekeeping, and it's really hard to be able to like publish your work, and and especially doing it in a way that it's authentic to you. And then the process that I published with Distal Arts was very much, it wasn't, there was no like, oh, you have to, like you can't have this poem, or like you can't say this. It was very much do what you want, and I'm gonna support you. And it Luis and Distal Arts is very, very supportive, and I really appreciate the opportunity to publish this. And so how I ended up writing this book is I joined. So Distal Arts has poetry classes. They're just they're 12 weeks long, and they happen 3 times a year. And we just actually finished or we're in the midst of finishing our program for this quarter or try whatever. Um, and it's called Contrasi Cafe. And it's bilingual too, which is also really great. So it's like and San Juanita is actually in the class with me. And yeah, it's it's really great. It's amazing to to be able to talk about poetry and learn poetry, not in just like a like in an institutional setting. Because I feel like a lot of times like the only other way that you can like learn poetry is like by going to like a school or like a university, and there's a lot there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes into that, and trying to like apply for like an MFA, for example. um and yeah, so but and then so when and when I joined, I was just really excited because I was I was in a group of other people, and we were like discussing poetry, discussing different poems. We have different writing prompts each week. And and then in the like about like I don't know, I was sometime in like last, it was in 2019, like in February. Luis approached me and was like, oh, after reading some of my poems through the class, he was like, oh, I think you have I think you have a strong voice, and you have a story that that you can tell, and I'd like to help you with that, and would you like to write a chapbook and have it published with Distal Arts? And I was like, oh my God, like dream. Like, is this like, I was kind of like in shock a little bit, because I was like, wow, I can't believe that. Like, because, I feel like I wanted to write a book, but it wasn't something that I felt like I could do. I don't know. I don't feel like I had the confidence to be able to do it on my own. And it was, it was really great to have that support system from Luis. And not only from Luis, because we had, so I did the arts mentorship program, and in the arts mentorship program, it's not just me, it was some other folks. And we had a little group, and we met every week on Sundays, and we would all bring poems to workshop. And we were all working on different on our own books. And yeah, and so it took me about a year, and I would just go every week, and we would talk about all the different poems, and like where my chapbook was going, and like the idea and the theme behind it. And it was great. Like I actually got to design the front cover. And like I don't have like any graphic design experience really, but I really wanted this to be like my book. And like Luis did like the final everything, but like I took the picture, and I modified it, and I drew the little bird and everything. And so it was really great to have a lot of like my control over the book, because I know and Margo mentioned this earlier, that like, yeah, there's like, if you're doing it with like a larger press, you get you have to you have they tell you what they want, and it's not like you lose some of your own like autonomy and like your response. And I, you know, and I really wanted this book to really be like me, like all the way through, and where I was at, like at that particular stage of my life. And so I really appreciated that. And yeah, and like this, yeah, so it was really for me, it's like a healing journey to be able to talk about all the things, because the book is basically kind of like my story, and a lot of the things that I've gone through in my life, and things that I haven't really shared with anybody before. And I think, I don't know, keeping things inside can become really really painful, and they come out in other ways, you know, that you don't even realize. And so, you know, I needed to get this out really, and I didn't even know I needed to get it out, but I did. And so it's like I felt like in many ways, like, you know, writing this is very, very therapeutic for me. And so it's, you know, I don't, you know, yeah, so it was like it wasn't just like about writing, it was like a life changing sort of thing for me. And then it came out like right on my 33rd birthday, and it was, yeah, it was just, I felt like a rebirth in many ways. So yeah. Um, yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's how yeah, that's how my book came around. And I'm, you know, it's like my baby. Yeah, my Margo said you can't not give birth to something. Like once you start doing it, you just gotta get it out there. Um, yeah.
Yes, I love it. It was a healing journey. And it sounds like you're really fortunate to be with Distill, or have found a group that is so nurturing, you know, to help you with this whole process. For you to be able, I mean, I read Garo's book, y'all. For what she's talking about with, oh my goodness, just her whole story. It's just, it's it's remarkable, and it's very unique, and I, you know, and you can see how painful, and connect with how much pain that there is too. And I'm so happy that you have that, you know, that environment for this to be able to come into life. And I do like, I'm hearing that pattern between you and Margo. Take it into your own hands, you know, like be more involved with your book than just like, I'm the writer here, take it, do, you know, you said this is you inside and out, you know, the expression of how the cover is, and you know, the order of your content. I mean, that's really important, and special, because, you know, you weren't being kept back, you know, you weren't being held back, or being oppressed in any way as a creative, as an author. So that's really special. And you know, and I'm excited that, wow, so these two books come to existence, you know, not just from the I don't know, just from the muse coming through the artist, but because the artist wanted to see it come to life so much. Like, y'all made these books physically possible, you know what I mean? um Awesome. And then I wanted to, so the kind of, we talked a little, or you talked a little bit about it. The next question was to talk about the publishing journey. You know, how your publishing story was, and you can talk, you know, if you want to, you know, add.
Wait, what was the first question? I thought that was the first question.
The first question was about your story, about the how did your book come together? So like your writing process, and it was working with Distill and the workshops, which you mentioned. And then the publishing story, I guess, is intertwined with that. But yeah, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about that. My last question was advice to, you know, what is your advice to new authors?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can talk a little bit more about the process, which, I mean, you know, I think for me, I really do. I feel like writing, even though like you write like kind of like by yourself, and there's still like a community aspect to it, very much so. And I feel like, you know, you're so influenced not only by like other poets that you read, but also, um, you know, by the people that you know, your writing group. And I was really, you know, through, and like I think a lot of and I think maybe this is going to go into like into the advice for other writers, is that you got to have to find, like, you know, you got to find your writing community. Like you can't you can't just be there in this little bubble and be like, oh, I'm gonna write. I feel like the feedback that I received from my poems is really like invaluable. And it meant a lot to me, like meeting with my writing group every week, to be able to be like, oh, what works and what doesn't work, because I feel like there was some of the poems that that I was kind of attached to, because of the pain of my own trauma, but like they weren't poems that really completely encapsulated the experience the right way. And I'm glad that I didn't, I feel like if I hadn't had that writing community, like maybe I would have had included those poems in that book, and I would have been like, oh, I don't know, at some point maybe would have regretted it. So I feel like the feedback that I got was was really great. And because it was from people that I really, I respected their opinion. And it's not like anyone ever told me like, oh, don't put that in your book. It was sort of my own realization through
Oh,
talking through some of these poems, that I was like, oh yeah, this isn't what, there's also this thing where it's like, yeah, like this, like something will mean something to you, but it is not going to mean this, someone else is going to read it and see it in a completely different way. And I
yeah.
think that's why it's so important to like have that community with you. And also, to really encourage you to keep writing, because I feel like sometimes it can be, it can be so hard to just, um, to keep going when there isn't like other people that are like pushing you and telling you, and you know,
Yeah.
um,
You know,
that.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, no, go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's such a great point, about the writing community. I'm putting quotes from y'all in here too, your golden nuggets or of advice that you said, find your writing community, and that the feedback was invaluable. And I love that you said that it helped you realize that, hey, some of these poems are just for me, or I had to just get it out, and it's just once you start expressing, and it's all flowing, like you're like, everything, like ideas are bouncing off the next, when you go on a stream of consciousness and you write it and then another idea pops out. But sometimes, you're saying that there's some poems that might not help uh, accelerate your book, right? And so actually that's a great thing that you're able to identify that. But so that brings up two questions I had. One, how do you know that, how do you know that that poem's not going to work, or how did you feel that poem, for you personally, how it wouldn't work? But also, in writing with the community, do you ever find yourself writing for someone, like, I know they like that I did this, and subconsciously, or maybe not so subconsciously, you're like, I'm gonna do this more, and this person's gonna like what I did. Like, does that ever happen? And or do you shut that out? I mean, I don't know. Is that would that ever be a problem? I guess.
Yeah, so I think for the first question is I think that like if I get like a certain amount of feedback in my poem, or people are just like, oh, did you mean this by that, or just this confusion about what I mean, or like it just doesn't really like hit with people, and they're not really relating to it, that's where I'm like, that's when I'm like, oh well, maybe this isn't something that other people are gonna be able to find, I guess, a connection with. And maybe it's too like, you get too in your own head, and it's like, yes, this makes sense to you, but then you realize it literally only makes sense to you. And like, and it's like, sometimes like I don't know, like, and it just takes that reading to somebody else to be like, oh no, I connect with this. And then and and like, yeah, so I feel like just sometimes some poems are really, yeah, just stuff that like you need to get out. And I think that line between that is, it's like a very thin line, and it blurs a lot. And I think sometimes it's really difficult to know whether whether you write something for yourself, or whether you're writing something that's that other people are going to be able to get something from. Because I think ultimately, like, that's why, because I love to write. Like, I've been writing since I could write, which is like what, 4 years old, like whenever I like, it's just part of who I am. But sharing it is like a whole different aspect. And I feel like I really the reason I want to share my poetry is because I've read other people's work, and I've been like, and it's opened me up. It like made me feel so much not alone, and that, that's always been so amazing to not feel alone. And I want to have that same, I want to provide that same gift for other people. I want other people to read my stuff and be like, oh wow, I'm not the only person who feels like this. But if I'm not doing that, then I feel like then I'm not, that's not the poem that I want to put out there, because it's not helping anybody. I want to be able to like help other people through like their healing journey or whatever, whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
And then for the second part of the question is, I do feel like sometimes I do start to feel like I want to write for people. And I feel like, so Luis is my mentor. And I feel like, yeah, like he has this particular style of writing. And I think our styles of writing are very similar. And I think that's why it's good to diversify like who you're sharing your work with, so you don't end up getting stuck in writing the same poems or the same style of poems all the time. And so, I have like I have other writing groups aside from the ones from Digital Arts that I engage with. And I actually just joined a community literature initiatives poetry publishing class. And so, and it's CLI for all of you that don't know, and they do a similar program like Digital Arts. I think it's a little more intensive, but it's kind of the same goal, is that at the end of the 9 or 8 months or however long it is you publish a book. And then, at first I wasn't sure if I was gonna try to expand out of Digital Arts, but I think I decided to, because I wanted other voices. I wanted, I think it's good to diversify your mentors and not just like have like one person that you're always like, having having read your poems and giving you feedback. I think it's good to like have a variety of opinions and see like what works, and so that you really challenge yourself to write different types of poems. Because I know for me, like writing is also like a craft. It's very much like there's writing, and then it's like the craft of writing, and that's like a whole other thing. And there's so many possibilities for your expansion as a writer, and just so.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Karo. Thank you for all that feedback. And you have lots of juicy nuggets I typed up in the chat. I love that you said diversify your mentors. I think that is important, because a lot of times we can get stuck on a replay. I mean, and as artists, as creatives, well, I believe personally that there's poetry in everything. Like anything and everything could be a poem and be made into a poem. But it's all about, I think, what you're exposed to, what you're seeing, who you're interacting with. Like, you got to change your world up every now and then. And I think that's important, just to have more, a broader writing capacity, and just more ways to challenge yourself. Not just as a writer, like with craft, but what you want to talk about, or what you are comfortable with expressing, and just being able to go there. Like, that's another question. I guess I have a lot of questions for you, Karo. I'm deviating from my list. Oh boy. But just like how, and you don't have to go so deep. It just, I mean, how do you allow yourself to write about the most painful things, in your own life? You know what I mean? Like, because there's some things that I want to write about and I haven't gotten there yet, and I know I want to, because it's very painful for me. Maybe what's something that helped you, or did it take practice, or I don't know, like.
I feel like you just got to do it. Like you just can't let it, it is really hard. And it's, the very first poem, the poem that I turned in to Luis that made him ask me if I to be in the arts mentorship program, was like a really, really difficult poem for me to write. It's in here. It's called Ode to Opiates, and it was about my mother. And her addiction to benzos and her mental health, and like, and I remember like before I turned it in, to Luis, I almost didn't, like, you know, I didn't even want him to like see it, or I felt so vulnerable and open. I was like, oh, like what? But then I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna do it. And like, you know, I don't know, I guess like the writing part of it, um I don't know, I guess like that's how I cope with everything, is just by writing it all out. And so it's, I don't know, it's like if it's in there, like I have to write it, like it has to come out. Like I feel like I don't have a choice really. But yeah, so you just gotta I mean, I don't know, I'm really into like self-awareness, and like really being into really discovering like who you are, and like why you do the things that you do. And I've realized that not everyone's like that, and but I think it's really important. It's really important, and so I really dig deep inside myself all the time, and yeah, just dig deep, and don't let fear stop you, and then just write it, and then, like, you know, if you don't like it and you don't want to share it, you can just burn it, but you know, just do
I love
it.
that. Oh my God. Write it up. You're exercising yourself. You're like, rip it out, write it out, and like, burn it. Bye bad feelings. Bye pain. I love that. That's a nice release, a physical release. Like you see it happening. Like even if you do want to share it, maybe we should all do that. Burn the poems about the pain, and like that's awesome. Takes it to another level. Um, Thank you so much, Karo. Thank you for like sharing and telling us about your journey. And when we go back around in discussion, I want to ask Margo, I want to ask Juan too about, you know, topics of like how you also write or allow yourself to write topics that are painful and things like that. So I'll come back around, Margo, and ask you that question too. I'm going to check the chat, see if there's any more questions for you, Karo.
I think there was a couple.
Let's see here. Well, Estella had wanted to know the name of your book and if it was a memoir. So her book is Gathering Grandmother's Bones. Do you consider it a memoir?
You know, I don't, what, I'm not sure. I mean, it kind of felt like a memoir to me a little bit. But if it is a memoir, it's very short. And so I don't know, maybe my next book, the one that I'm working on right now, is going to be more of a memoir, but yeah, so but I mean, it's a memoir in the sense that, like, yeah, it's about me, it's about my journey. So I guess it depends on how you define memoir.
Awesome. No, I like that. The journey poems, the journey book. Good, cool. I think we're gonna let's see, let me double check.
I think Andy asked if there was a fee to be part of the program to Distal Arts. And there isn't. There's no. It's free. Distal Arts is completely free. This is what makes it so great. It's so if you buy my book, you'll actually be the part of the money that goes into buying your book is going to go to Distal Arts. So because that's how they're funded. They're funded through like the sale of all their zines, their books, and then grants. But everything for the participants is free. So like the whole mentorship program is free, the classes are free, everything is free, which is amazing because it's really hard to find free things out there.
Wow, I know, and that's a lot. They offer so many services, and that's remarkable. I love that Distill Arts, everyone. I put the links in the chat too. Also, after the Zoom, you know, I get a transcript of the chat. So, I mean, I can also, to everybody that attended, if you want a transcript of the chat, put your email in the chat and I'll just happily email this over to you afterwards, okay? So if you're interested in that, I'm happy to send you the notes, our chat transcript there. That way you have all the links and know where to get the books, etc. Cool. Okay, so remember, we're gonna come back around. So again, I'm Jessica with LA Poet Society. We're rocking our LA Poet Society t-shirts. Woohoo! And this is the New Author Showcase. I'm talking with Karo, the author of Gathering Grandmother's Bones. And we're also featuring Margo Perin, the author of Plexiglass, and Juan Cardenas, the author of The Beat of an Immigrant Chicano. And this is also an action with 100,000 Poets for Change, Los Angeles, our 10th year of action. And it's really incredible too that I'm hearing, and this wasn't even like set up to be this way, but all three authors, their content is super like charged with activism and just, you know, empowerment and everything. So it's like perfect for 100,000 Poets for Change and bringing awareness to diversity, multiculturalism, you know, immigrant, the immigrant story, immigrant issues, you know, what it means to belong. Like there's so much. And then also incarceration and the impact it has on people's lives, and, you know, that whole feeling of being discarded by your community or society, and like all that needs to be abolished. And like there's, you know, there's so much change that needs to come through in this country. So it's a real honor to be here in this space with everyone, and also to learn more about your own personal stories and your books. And I hope everyone buy their books. I'm putting the links to how you can get their books here, and I'll put them all again at the end of the chat, so that way you have the links right in front of you. This is a great way to support your artists, local artists, independent artists. You know, you don't have to support those big name folks, but or big name mass produced like places. Go with independently produced creations. Support artists. All right, so we'll come back. Oh yeah, and each author is going to share a segment of their book as well. So we'll have a reading. And so our next author that we're going to talk about, let me just double check one more time if there's any other questions for Karo. But if I do miss one, we'll you know, I'll be sure to, we'll come back to it. And Margo saying we should trade our books with each other. Oh, right on. That's right. You did do that. Juan and Karo did trade their books. That's right. If you want a transcript of this chat, if you want to get the email for this chat, put your email in the chat box too. Cool. All right, we're gonna move to Juan Cardenas. So yeah, Karo, I'll be back with you in a little bit. And then at some point, I would love to see, you know, love to have an author's dialogue, just kind of like with each other, or at least on a, you know, maybe I'll ask a question, y'all just kind of go for it. But we'll see how this works. Like I said, this is our first time, our first show here. I'm trying to reimagine it as if you were all in front of me on a stage in the bookstore, you know, at the Achuchas or something, and we'll just all have conversation. So do my best. I think this is great. Everyone is really vibing with everybody, and I thank you all for opening up. All right, Juan Cardenas, you're up next. Juan is the author of The Beat of an Immigrant Chicano. This is really wonderful little flag notes here. Let me introduce you to him. I'm gonna do my cool screen share. This makes me feel like I'm in class with the high school kids again, because I do this all the time. I'm like, all right. So now I'm gonna share my screen. So here's Juan's website, flutistawixsite.com. Juan Cardenas. So he's the author of The Beat of an Immigrant Chicano. Juan is a poet, an artist. He's also a flautist. He's also part of the team with the Los Angeles Poet Society. He was born in León, Guanajuato, Mexico, and came and immigrated over to the San Fernando Valley. He's been published in numerous anthologies, like the Rise anthology from Vagabond Press, the Los Angeles anthology from Edgar Allan Poe. He was also, I believe, in the Extreme anthology with also from Vagabond Press. And here's his website and a link where you can buy his book. Right now it's being sold at the Achuchas bookstore. I believe Juan also has books with him if you want to buy directly from the author. Here's some really great quotes about his book. There's this essay Griffin saying, Juan Cardenas redefines what it is to be a, quote, beat poet. taking the reader on a moving, courageous, and at times harrowing journey across physical, emotional, and spiritual borders. The beat of an immigrant Chicano marks the welcome voice of an emerging 21st century beat poet, armed with fresh eyes that see past the truth of this United States of reality show. Snaps. That's one of the quotes, and quite a he has more up here. So definitely check out his website. I'll put the link in the chat. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and here is Juan Cardenas. Hi, Juan.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you, Jessica. I think no one knows me better than Jessica. That was like a perfect biography, like description of things and apologies that I've been in. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I listened to that one. Well, it's really an honor to listen to both you, Karo, and Margo. I was listening to. I have my headphone here. My apologies if I was in and out. I was also taking care of the kiddos, just making sure not tearing up the place apart, which they will if we give them a chance. Anyways, like I said, it's really an honor. Jessica, it's really an angel of poetry, and it's really an honor for me to be here and share my work and my journey, pretty much.
Thank you, Juan, for being on the show and being a part of our first group of authors, the New Author Showcase. So I want to ask you the same question. How did your book come together? Like, how did all these poems and how did all this collection come to life? How did it come together?
Well, this collection of poetry is really it's like 6 years of poetry. It's it's all and it's really it's really like the description of it's my becoming of a lot of these poems like I was listening to right now about writing about painful instances, like I had to dig back there and to write about it simply because I believe that is a story worth telling, and 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 like there was something that I heard that totally sparked my mind. It was, if you don't write your story, someone else is gonna write it for you. And so I started writing a lot about how I came to be here, about my experience, crossing the border. Um, I started writing from when I was 13. I learned the language, and I had a particular teacher that totally sparked my mind into writing. And it was very simple. Like I was still learning English, but and it was my ESL class, and he said, all you have to do is just write all the details you can. And I was like, all the details? I was like, well, that's not so hard. I could definitely write details. I like writing. So like when I was also trying to learn the language, so I just started writing as many details as I could, and then I started writing like fiction stories with as much details as I could. And I went from like being a really like bad student to the first thing that one of the first things that I really care about was actually writing, because that helped me learn English completely. I hadn't even taken grammar class, like the complete grammar class like I did in high school. So that was my guide to learning the language. And so after like discovering that I could write, and then that I enjoyed it, I just kept writing, and I never really stopped. It was until I met Jessica that she enlightened me into what poetry is. Jessica was like the world of poetry that I was missing. And this is quoting Ricky, one of my friends that I was talking to. Like it really is. She was like, when I met Jessica, I had notebooks of poetry that I didn't know, that for me they were awesome, and I had fun writing. But at the same time, once I met Jessica, I discovered like that all of that had like a whole lot more meaning, and it was worth actually sharing. That actually people might be interested in listening to some of these poems, because honestly, I shared some of my poems with some friends, and they're not just that type of, crowd per se. And I was always kind of like put down for poetry. Even in high school, I was always made fun for the guy that had the notebook in his pocket and I was just writing everything down that came to his mind. And I was like, they're like, oh, what, you gonna take your little pocket, notebook and write it down? I'm like, yeah, I am, as a matter of fact. But whatever, besides like the insecurities like that, that was a big holdback, to believing in myself. And then I met this gal at a poetry reading that she organized, and my whole world changed. Like from there on, I was like, wow. So then, like, if I write about what actually happened to in my life, people would want to hear that too. And so then I started digging deeper and deeper, and honestly, it was a super painful process because I'm still like partially undocumented. I'm still having trouble with immigration, and so like it was a whole huge process on becoming who I am. This is what this book is. This is how this book became. And it was super healing, letting it all out. After I let it all out, actually, it makes me feel better. After this book came out, I actually feel holding it here. I feel like I'm holding my pain outside my chest. So that's how this book came into Jessica's with the kiddos, I suppose. It's okay. Um, does anybody have any questions on Jessica?
Oh, no, I'm here still. I was just typing also that I love what you said, holding your book out, that this is like holding your pain outside of your chest. What a poet, huh? To describe the process or the physical, the culmination of the book, right? I love that. The pain now outside of the body. That's awesome. I love that. Um, my next question, and thank you for sharing too. And if anyone has questions for Juan, please put it in the chat. But the next question is, tell us about your publishing story. The journey. Like, how did this book come to life? What was your publishing story?
So I have honestly, I'm so lucky to have someone like Jessica, and I'm going back to her because she is a big part of my journey as a poet. Like, I'm a musician as well, and I took the musician road for a very long time. It was really fun, and I wrote on the way. Um, that's how I met Jessica. With Jessica, I mean, I went to college. But I never really graduated from college. I took a lot of classes, and I'm still taking some. Not right now, but the last semester. Either way, the point is, Jessica is an encyclopedia of poetry. And when I met her, she was already Los Angeles Poet Society. So Jessica is 100% poetry coming out of her ears and out of everywhere. She's poetry all day. So knowing someone with the passion like her, and me actually enjoying that passion itself, like I learned so much. Like she knows so much about. She has her degree, and she's so knowledgeable about poets, and she is a dictionary herself, and she's also like she's my Grammarly, you know, because she's so full of knowledge. Not only that, but she already had a library of books that I was able to read and enjoy, that I learned so much from. And I'm also talking about books from her college time. Aside from that, when I met her, she was already Los Angeles Poet Society, and she was introducing me to all the poets in LA. And I was going to all the open mics, and I was right in front of them, listening to all the poets that, every single week for 5 years, 5, 6 years, nothing but poetry every year. And then I joined in Los Angeles Poet Society, and I started organizing. So like that took my way of my my writer to another level. My writer self evolved in a way from how I was after taking in so much, and I love it. You know, honestly, I still do. It's still my poetry, still my passion, and you know, I'm so sad about the whole everything epidemic that happened. Because yeah, this will feel so good to be together in one place and unison, and you know, just enjoy poetry as we are right now, which is still also so beautiful. But you know, the whole process of the press was through through Los Angeles Poet Society. Jessica was published by Strong World Press, which is the same press that I'm published, and quite honestly, she had offered to help me, to contact me to the press to help me get published before, but I wasn't ready. I was like, I don't think I have a lot of poetry, but I still felt like I needed to write more, you know. So I waited like maybe 2 years after I was proposed to Jessica to give me a hand to write, to actually tell her, you know what, now I'm ready, you know, because um, in my mind, if I was going to produce something, I also wanted to have something that represented who I evolved from the second that I started writing to. So in this book, you get to see that evolution, and so you know, I had the grace to and you know, to have Jessica help me talk to the press, to Swan World Press, and not talk really. She just gave me the email, and I sent them my you know, what I had, and Patrice, which is the president of the press, liked it, and he was like, yes. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. You know, and so that was a blessing. That was a complete blessing to have. And so yeah, that's how this came to be. About 6 years of a poetic journey with Los Angeles Poet Society's
Oh, beautiful.
angel.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you for sharing. And also, I wanted to ask you too, what advice do you have for new authors, for folks that are trying to get a book together, or about ready to get there? What advice do you have for them?
I say just write. You know, there's so much to write. It's a whole universe to write about. Like there's what I tell my students that, you know, there's poetry is magic, and you know, have poetry. What's so cool about poetry is that you can write about anything and make it into anything else. Like and a big part of it is imagination. Like your imagination is such a big important factor in writing poetry. You know, and we all have an imagination. Everybody has an imagination. Kids have a better imagination than we do. You know, it's funner. It's more happy, has more colors, and considering they watch cartoons, they have more images to choose from than we do. um but like, you know, it's all about imagination. So like, don't stop writing and use your imagination a lot. I always tell my students, they're like, look at this, and they're like, what? Like, I can hold fire in my hands and I can make you look at it if you really try. They're like, of course you're not gonna, of course I'm not gonna hold fire in my hands, of course I'm not gonna light my fire, but if we all try really hard, we could all imagine that I'm holding fire in my hands, and then we all imagine that I had fire in my hands, you know. And it's possible, and it's like, we write it down, you know what I'm saying? So it's possible to imagine anything and write it down. And if it's possible to imagine anything and write it down, it's definitely impossible to write anything that has happened to you or that you experienced experiences. Like, you know, it's really painful to go to write about all these painful experiences, but you know, there's a sweet sourness to be able to like dig into your mind, almost dive into your mind and into that memory, and find that, and then place yourself in that memory. And when you're there, it's like a whole different realm. um, you're sitting somewhere else in your past, and you're looking at everything around you, and you're trying to describe it. You know, that's like that's the beauty about, also about being a writer, being able to transport yourself and be able to put it down. So don't be afraid to do that, you know, because like what you will produce when you transport yourself somewhere else, not necessarily transport, you can also just write the literal world that's around you. But you know, don't be afraid to transport yourself in your mind and somewhere else and describe what you see when we're talking about memories.
Be fearless.
Yeah, fearless.
Fearless poet. I love it. I always say that the poets, you know, that we're the truth tellers. You know, we're and if you're with a poet or you're dating a poet or well, if your best friend's a poet, because they're always paying attention, right? I always say the poet's eye, right, Rosie? The poet eye. We're observing. We're always watching, and everything's up for grabs, right, for a writer. And the poets are the truth tellers, right, of our lives, of our experiences, but also of our society. And also that helps me segue back to 100,000 Poets for Change, that we use our craft, our poetry as a means to share truth and share the message. And then in sharing truth, like when we talk about our pains, and that's why I also asked you all, you know, about pain, how you go there, how you allow yourself to write, or, you know, when you do go there and you create those, you give people a chance to connect with you. And I like that. Karo, you mentioned that you're very conscious of that too when you're writing. You're like, is it just for me that I got this out, or, you know, or is this something that someone can understand and connect with? I mean, I feel like, especially classic poets, I mean, you talk about institutional learning and with learning poetry, where you're like shown only like Shakespeare or Poe or maybe, you know, Emerson or T.S. Eliot, and then it's like you have to use like a magnifying glass to decode what they said. Like first the period, right, the language of the period, you got to figure out that, and then you got to figure out, well, what do they mean? And it's not just like a nice metaphor, it's just like, what? Like, at least in my experience in English classes, it was like we literally have like a decoder ring, and it's like if things are so coded, how are people going to connect? Like only maybe a small percentage of folks are gonna figure it out. But I mean, you want accessibility, right? You want your book to be read, don't you? And I love Margo, and you can unmute. Y'all can unmute too if you want to just chime in. But you, Margo, you had mentioned too that that you'll find your audience. Can you tell us a little bit more? Because I know we all could use that. I mean, I see, you know, Juan, he's doing so much promotion and he's like his own marketing manager. So it definitely snaps to you on that. But you had mentioned too that you'll find your audience. So like how does that happen? And is it organic? Do they find you, or is it like a hashtag thing? Like if I plug myself into this category or tag my posts or whatever my press release says, like how does that audience come around?
Who did you want to answer that?
Oh, well, Margo, you had mentioned that you'll find your audience for your book.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I mean, it's taken me a long time to realize this, because when I was first writing and I wanted people to read my work, I was still in that place where I was trying to fit into things that I don't fit into. And then I grew up in a lot of different countries because my father was on the run. You know, my whole family was on the run. And I never fit in anywhere. And so I'm like, you know, one day I'm like, I'm not going to fit in anywhere now either. I'm kind of a misfit. So to expect me to fit into something that's already there was barking up the wrong tree. So I feel like what's happened for me over the years is I write from a sense of what I feel needs to be out there. And like with this book and with my last book, I thought, you know, I have to do this for myself because this is so important to me. And I hope I find an audience, you know. And also it's kind of interesting because with Plexiglass, the people who really get it are Black and brown people, right? Because it's a lot of this is they've either been through it or they know people have been through it and they know about oppression, you know, racial oppression and how they're targeted by the system, you know. But people who really need to read it are white people because most white people don't know, you know. So I'm sort of putting it out, you know, like I'm doing, you know, readings and stuff where I can. I was invited, it was great. You know, I was invited to do this global poetry project that Jessica, you're involved with too. The Pete Me Don't Leave on Facebook. So
Yes.
I'm putting poems on there from this book. You know, and I'm just telling people I know about it. And I hope that people want to read it. But I feel with this book that it's been so synchronistic, you know, like so far with my last book, it was much more of a struggle because I had to break through all the confusion that I had about my life. Because my parents never told us what was happening. We would just arrive in a new place. And there was always this feeling of great danger. And there was also big, you know, a lot of violence in my family. So for me to write that book, I mean, I was listening to Karo. It's the same kind of thing where you just, you know, it's like you tell yourself your own story and then you create art out of it. So that was kind of a different thing. This project with Plexiglass, I just feel like this, like my last book, The Opposite of Hollywood, I felt like if I was a girl and I saw that book, like that would have really changed my life. With Plexiglass, I just feel this book has got to be out there. It's kind of like a mission for me. So I'm just trying to get it out wherever I can, you know.
Beautiful. Yes, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, and we'll help you promote and get it out too. And just to all the artists, we have a section on our website specifically for artists or for LA Poet Society members' books. And this, so we can put your book in there and link to it and everything to also continue to help promote your book and plug you in. So I think, you know, that's good. It's really great. And I wanted to go back to Juan again. There were a few questions for him in the chat. And thank you, Margo. Like I just was like, how do we get that audience? Because it's like sometimes, you know, I know as a poet myself, you know, the first network to embrace you are your close, you know, your close friends, the people that are always there, they have your back. Like you could write something on the wall and it looks crazy and they'll still be like, all right, you did it, you know. And then, you know, so the circle, once it gets outside the circle, you know, goes outside. Like when you start selling to people you don't know or that live somewhere far away from you, then you broke in somewhere, and that's a great sign. That's like such a great thing.
I mean, there's also something about, it's, and if you do what is the truth, if you do what's really from the deepest part of you, there's something that actually happens. It's like, it sounds really corny, but it's like this energetic thing. And sometimes the people you think will appreciate your work, like people you think might be your friends, they can say the stupidest things. You know what I mean? They really don't get it. So it's like the people you don't know sometimes get it more than the people you do know. I mean, I don't know Karo and Juan and Jessica too. I don't know if you've had that, and Rosie as well. I don't know if you've had that experience. Yeah, Karo?
Yeah, I sorry. So I wanted to chime in on this because like I feel like I've made friends because I've through my poetry and like sharing it. So I've like, I've like read my story and then, I've met people who've connected to it and like, messaged me on like Instagram, and then I've become um friends with them. And and I think that I don't know, there's something amazing about meeting people through poetry, because it's like, yeah, like some of your friends, like, they know you on this other sort of like level, but they may not know like all of your most like intimate, like hard things that you've gone through. But like, then you write it all out and then you share it, and then a stranger is like, wow, I really like, I had a similar experience, or I really connect with you. And then next thing you know, like you're becoming close friends, and it's like on this other like level, because they know something intimate about you that some of your friends don't even know. Like there's so many people that, like the stuff that I wrote in my book, there's so many people, like my high school friends, my college friends, who had no idea that I was going through any of this. And so like they know like this different version of me. And like now people know this, this like more authentic self of me. So like,
Yeah. Yeah, well said. Yeah.
Totally agree. Yes.
Yeah. I was just saying that it feels so good when that happens, when you make those connections. And I feel like, I mean, with the people that we know and we interact with on the daily, like sometimes we're not in the mood to go that deep or to really express how we're feeling at that moment, you know, even if, you know, no matter how old we were at that time, you know, like to really want to talk about it. And then how do you bring it up and how do you talk about it? And if you're not that writer then, you know, you're not the writer that you are now, you know, are you ready to really share that story? So I think when our books do come to life, or your books come to life, you know, that's when you're ready. You are releasing it. I love what Juan said about the outside, the paint on the outside. I wear my paint on the outside now, and everybody else can have some of it, so I don't have to have it all, you know. And that's so cool. That's so cool.
I totally agree with Karo though. Like I'm actually experiencing the same thing right now. Having so many different friends that had never seen that part of me, even my closest friend too. You know, they so it's really definitely a new experience to be able to be exposed at that level, you know, and it's fun.
Don't you find that it makes you stronger because
Yeah.
you are more of who you are? And also you're not holding that pain, it's out there. So you don't have to act out from it. So you can be more open as well with people, you know?
Totally, absolutely, yes. Yeah, and yeah, definitely adds up to confidence now. Like, yeah, I have this peanuts on my chest, but also I can hold it up proudly, you know. So that's the other aspect of it, which is so healing. Um, yeah, it's I have honestly I like life is bittersweet and so is wine, and you know we still drink it.
Yeah, the wine. Stay away from the wine, Juan. Oh, you're on right now. Rosie asks, do you consider your writing style as narrative? Yeah, do you consider your writing style as narrative?
For me, absolutely. Yes, it's um, yeah, it's an inside look to my soul and to my past and to who I've been and to who I am now. Like the poems that I talk about are about what has happened before, a lot of them, but and with them, there's also a part of who I am right now. So you get to experience, you know, different sides of me and times, you know. Uh, but in that sense, it's still, you know, narrative and speaking about it, you know, in a poetic, you know, different style of language, you know, I, in a fun language. I like how I like to call it because for me, art is fun. You know, it's liberating and it's fun. It's a game also for me. You know, thinking about how to say things a different way, describing things differently, using things to describe other things, and it's a fun game for me that I like to play with in my mind. And so, and yeah, in that process, describing who I am, describing scenes and events becomes very narrative, a way of writing.
Yes, thank you. And speaking of narrative, you're starting a new set of narrative poetry classes.
Yes, so poets and writers, thank you so much. Poets and writers uh, gave me another grant to start another narrative poetry class. So I'd love to, you know, invite all of you to come to it if you can. It's going to be on a Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. and it's going to start on October 3rd. And so I'm really excited. I'm so blessed by Poets and Writers because I submitted a grant because I had had one previous class, and I'm a California Poets and Schools teacher as well, and I've worked with a lot of youth and at-risk youth, and you know I miss a lot of that work, obviously, and but also I love poetry and I love also sharing whatever knowledge I have to help someone write too, because you know how it healed me, you know it could heal you too, and if it doesn't, that's fine, but I'm not going to deny, you know, that what I have, what I know that could possibly heal you. You know, if you can grab it, you know. I have it, like I have it in my hands, and it's for you to take. So that's kind of like my philosophy. Um, uh,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Um,
Wait, I didn't say anything.
oh, okay, sorry. Well, thank you, Juan, and I love the discussion that we're having too. You know, the circular discussion, and that's I'm glad that's happening. That's what I was hoping would happen. Hooray! Y'all making this such an amazing time and a great experience. Yeah, I have some drum sound effects. My daughter. Oh. Anyways, I think now we're gonna stop, Luna. Gosh. It's their father's fault. He got them so into music. They play all the time. Oh. Anyway, we're gonna go to the reading portion. Like, let me make sure. Does anyone else have any questions? Let's see. Anything else in the chat? That would you might.
One, want to put the details of your class, and then I'll spread it around. Did you hear that?
Sorry,
Yeah,
yes.
for Juan's class. I have the flyer. I wonder if I can attach it. Oh, I can attach it into the conversation.
Yeah. We have a flyer that we created, which has the information about it. But yeah, it's pretty much just the email losangelespoetsari@gmail.com, and that's how you subscribe. And that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And we'll send you the Zoom confirmation number to get in. And yeah, it would be an honor to have you and to write about it. I'm pretty much going to be going through narrative poetry, and going through that process is going through all of our senses and using each and every one of the senses individually.
Is it for because I'd like to spread it around with some of the youth I'm working with. Is there an age you're thinking about, or no? Okay.
Not really. It's gonna be it's really I don't really curse or I think I'm really like rated PG-13 or rated. I'm not really rated R.
Well, my students are rated R.
Oh, that's fine. Like I'm saying I don't. I'm not like I said, I don't curse a lot. So and I do teach kids and stuff. So yeah, any age is good. Really, we're just really going to be talking about poetry, and of course, when talking about poetry, when we start talking about other things, we'll just start diving into our own past and our own senses. Okay. In terms of what you write, it's all up to you. Obviously, I don't have any constrictions. Like I say, no apologies at all. Actually, I encourage people to write without apologies. You should write without apologies, and just as transparent. As the more transparent, the more genuine, the more real, the more people feel it when they read it too, and the more you feel it as well. The more people are able to connect. I think people like feel genuine, feel real when they read it. It's like Sixth Sense. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're muted. Jessica's muted.
Sorry. Is that better? Here. Oh, my kid is still with this drum. Hold on, kiddo. Holy, sorry. I was gonna say, after the reading segment, which we're about to move into, I'm gonna share some announcements with, so I'll do some more screen sharing and show you our other readings this weekend that we have planned. And also, I attached the flyer for Juan's workshop in the chat. So hopefully that works. I think it's my first time doing that in the chat, having a file, but if you can access it, great. If not, again, I can send it to you, or Juan can send it to you. Just put your email in there. And I also recommend it if you want to put it on gallery view, if you want to switch to gallery view instead of active speaker view, there are 3 really amazing black LA Poet Society t-shirts. I see Estella is also wearing hers. So woo! And then Karo's got hers. So this is so cool. I'm gonna take a screenshot because I'm really happy to see our shirts are getting around town. All right, up to Livermore, and actually, we sent one to Canada and it arrived. He's wearing it. Oh, Ross McKee, the writer, he's over Canada, and he's got his LA Poet Society shirt on, and that is so cool. Thank you for supporting. If anybody wants a shirt too, they're 15. I think most of y'all on the chat might have one already. So thank you for your support of our organization. And
I was gonna wear mine, but I've been wearing them every day. So that's why I was like, no. No, I'm just gonna wear my classic black shirt. But yeah, I have 2 actually.
Yeah. So now we're gonna move into the reading. The reading. So I said that each author you can have up to 10 minutes. You don't have to feel rushed, but you have up to 10 minutes to share a segment from your book. Oh, so sorry. Oh my God. Working from home, Anyway, thanks Karo too for the props. She's like, yeah, we're mad multitasking over here. Yes, I'm getting flushed.
I mean, I just want to do a shout out because being a parent is so hard. Like you're doing great. You're doing great, Jessica.
Oh, thank you, sister. It's just I appreciate it. I appreciate this part. I think I'm harder on myself than anybody has ever been on me. Like I'm just like, they interrupted me. There's this, it's not like we're in a reading, but I appreciate everyone here. Thank you, and thank you for putting up with my life. So okay, so let's get into the reading. We're gonna go reverse. So we'll go Juan, Karo, and Margo. So Juan, this is your time. Juan Cardenas, the author of The Beat of an Immigrant Chicano. This is the new author showcase. Everyone check it out. I'll put the link in the chat again for his book, and it's all you. I'm gonna mute myself. Juan Cardenas, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone, again, and thank you for listening. To all my rambling. Okay, so I'm going to read about my book, The Beat of an Immigrant Chicano. It's really an honor for me to read this to you all. I'm going to start with this one called Desert Baptized. I am a living sacrifice. I am the story of the boy going to sleep with a rumbling, hungry stomach. I am the story of being ignored by my father. I am the poem of a heartache of that mother who was betrayed along with her 4 children, and she cried out loud and ran down the hall and upstairs, where in her most miserable and demeaning backstab almost jumped off the balcony to end her pain. If it wasn't for my brother, that short dialogue of crying questions, confusion, that vivid stanza, just about a tear, who got lost in the small gathering pond, that the kid cried, shrugged. The lines rhymed, the pipe tunnel crossed the hill. The guard shift had made a deal to look the other way, but in darkness we stayed, waiting for hours for someone to say the word to start climbing up to the USA. A guard shift that never took place. The pro starts, we've just crawled underneath the US border, the coyote and I, our clothes dust yellow, desert baptized. A roadless pilgrimage awaited us. He never said the word to go. The urgency in his first step signaled. A coyote and a child traveler are seen walking up down the hills at the mercy of an Indian summer sun. An immigration patrol then pulls over right next to them, ignoring the fact they're traveling north. He hurried to ask, "Where are you going?" Coyote's trickster's tongue then turned into snake said to the officers, "We're just picking up cans, my son and I. My wife's sick," in Espanol. "If I see you again, I'll take you," Avocado said. I belonged to chance and wit for that instant, while my mind prayed in mercy for a pass. To feel the most of pages you've read, the unread in conclusion. What kind of story has no end? The living, breathing book. The living, breathing one, a book unfinished. That was Desert Baptized. So here's another one. So again, just I have different chapters in this book. The first one is called the Desert Heartache. Chapter 1 in Desierto y Dolor in Spanish. So that one was from the first chapter, and so is this next one called Home Run. Clang. A baseball flew high across Mexican skies as I caught a glimpse of the American desert at the other side of the steel fence. It took me 2 strikes to hit a home run at a baseball game that took place on the unpaved streets of TJ, just a few yards away from the border. It was my last day in Mexico early in the morning as I sat at the breakfast table of my coyote, eating frijoles de la olla with warm corn tortillas, when I saw a group of boys my age playing the United States' favorite pastime sport, baseball. I watched with excitement as I saw one team strike the other out. Fouls and home runs flew above the uphill dirt road. All bases were formed with sweaters and Coca-Cola bottles. I hadn't witnessed smiles and playful fun for weeks. The night before had been attempt 1, traumatic, desperate chance that fell and left me with a chilling sense of mortality. I'd never been so cold for so long and never had seen someone so scared. I watched so attentively my beans were getting cold, imagining myself running for a base. When my mom asked, "Do you want to go out and play with them, hijo?" The red, threaded, white leather ball savored the fragile freedom and height of the wind's unpatriotic belonging. That was Home Run. That's the first poem of the book. Um, I don't know how much time do I have. Maybe I'll read just a couple more.
Yeah, let's hear two more, 2 or 3 more.
Okay, cool. So then I just want to read one more from the first chapter because I really like this one. It's called TJ Crows. Crows circle the blue altitudes, crossing the border in and out in a mocking fashion to the intelligent race underneath. Truth is an executioner traffic freeway, a crossed finish line from a run, away from thirst and the human hounds. Truth is a patrol truck traveling through no roads, engine roaring under the heat strokes of its Aristides. Truth is a wary sight of vultures surveying the skies as the gold reflecting off their dark feather wings soar above a desert whose geography wages war against the foot, which isn't plated by costly luxuries. So that was the other one. All right, so I want to move to chapter number 2. I love chapter number 1. But I wanted to talk more about the whole entirety of the book. So chapter number 2 is just more like me being here in LA. Just a more calm chapter than chapter number 1. I'll start with this one: resisting gang life in the hood. The Valley Ghetto, North Hills, heart of the cultural mix, all races and tongues east of the 405. A lot of cholos, bald, enormous, triple XL, white shirts, black shorts, white socks and shoes. Uniform of streets, crews constantly at war with each other. 97, Sepulveda Middle School. What do you suppose a 12-year-old should say when he sees multiple initiation rituals for entering gangs every day? During nutrition, lunch, and after school, have a group of no more than 10 beat your lights out for a minute or more. Youthful blood flying under the California sunshine, all for their pain that no one could soothe. Swollen eyes, fat lips, limping legs. Sitting on the stairs with a couple of friends looking over the basketball court, you watch friends getting initiated into what I hope they were expecting, through blood, sipping on a chocolate milk cardboard drink. I couldn't be happier that it wasn't me. I was sucker punched once after school for declining to join again. He said they could use someone my size. Didn't want to hurt anyone or steal or belong to someone. It was just a kid who didn't want to play street games. I gotta say, I'm blessed. My parents were a huge influence. My dad was a construction worker, immigrant, like getting paid, and also jornalero, slash jornalero. Um, when I was, and in those times, we would go to trash cans to pick up cans. Like I remember being thrown into trash cans to pick up cans. Like a lot of times. Like just today, I was throwing out the garbage, and that scent of trash can just passed my nose, and I was like, that so familiar scent. I'm being in there, going through bags and picking cans. I lived that in a poor family. Like we always lived in bad neighborhoods because of that. My dad always told me that he would beat my ass if he see me with his two or in a gang. Just straight up, he that's what and he was always very. My dad wasn't the best dad. That's fine. Now he's my old man and I love him. But he was very he was very aggressive in a way, and so he scared me out of being in gangs in a way, not in a fun way. It was, like I said, very aggressive and also drinking, blah blah. But also music. Music was something that helped me stay in the chorus. Um, Once they told me that I wasn't going to be able to be in music because my GPA started being bad, I was like, whoa, what? I was like, you can't tell me that. I want to be in music, So, I went up a 3.5 and more, So that was fun. That's what kept me in almost, I could say, on rails. I'm not going into that gang atmosphere because it was all around me. Shootings every day at night. I would look out my window. I'd see people running from shootings. Being a kid. Getting assaulted. Like while going to school. You know what I mean? Like just simple things that I got my bike stolen. It was living in those neighborhoods is definitely not easy. And now and surviving that whole atmosphere is definitely like a triumph. The way I see it. Anyways, here's another poem from the third chapter. Third chapter is called Beat Poetry from My Brown Chest. So this one's called The Beat of a Chicano Immigrant. When you can't work because of a green paper, you're beat. When you're classified as an alien with no rights, you're beat. When the pity in people's eyes irritate yours, you're beat. This Chicano immigrant is beaten down by the soulless, bureaucratic, hypocritical immigrants of this country who believe some printed out paper overrides blood and ancestry. I'm exactly where I belong. My ancestors claimed this to be us long before the white settlers. Their ghosts still dance among us, honoring the elements, the directions, the earth, the moon, and the sun, not a capitalist god dressed in greed. The hearts of our Chicano heroes still beat in the rhythm and song that wants equality and brotherhood for all races. The farmer beat of Huelga of Cesar Chavez, the redemption beat of Luis J. Rodriguez, the movement beat of Rodolfo Acuña, the newspaper boy heights beat of Abel Salas, the Columbia beat of Antonieta Villamil, the Los Angeles Poets Society beat of Jessica Wilson, the Mexica ceremony beat of Freddy Chavez, the healing beat of Iris Zanda, the All Tribes beat of John Trudell, now what beat of Francisco Alarcon, the Mayan drifter beat of Juan Felipe Herrera, the fist racing beat of Dolores Huerta, and all humanitarian hearts of our activist brothers and sisters, united by the light and compassion of love, presente. So that was called The Beat of a Chicano Immigrant. And it's dedicated to my heroes, really. All these people that I've mentioned here are my heroes, the people that have made me believe. Once my mind was expanded, once I learned about my my ancestors and where I came from. It was, you know, it's so painful to not know where you belong. My story is still so crazy. And if I have just a minute to explain, um, so the first time that I came here to the United States was when I was 5. And I came here illegally. It was right after my grandfather died. And 4 years after that, we went back to Mexico. And so what happened there was I went back to Mexico, and I wasn't Mexican anymore. Like in Mexico, when we got there, we were the Americans. You know, everybody knew us as the Americans. And I knew English already because I was just a little bit, like little words like window, a door, you know, and stuff like that. And also because I had been there for 3 years here in the US. But we were already immigrants in Mexico. So I went to Mexico and I wasn't even treated like Mexican in a way, even though I was really from Mexico. Because my brother is actually from the US. Because I don't know what my parents were going back and forth from the US, but they did. They said that before it was just, you know, like just hopping over a fence that was much taller than you, which was in my case when I crossed. But like yeah, so that's my story. And then I came back here to the US and I was also an immigrant over here. So you know, so I've always been an immigrant everywhere I go. So I'm tangled in flags, and that's the name of the poem that I have in here.
Yeah, there's so
Which
let's just do the one
which
more, and then I have one last question, and then I'll bring up Karo. But Juan, you're amazing, and everyone's digging what you're writing, and lots of great comments in the chat about favorite poems, and oh oh Stella says that you're resilient because of your light, your spirit. So that's awesome. And Margo says she loves your poetry. So
thank you everyone. Yeah, it's really an honor. And you know, if you have a chance, look over to Educator Chicano. I'll put the link in there. I have a website where you can get it. I'm exclusively selling it to Chuchas right now. I love Chuchas. Chuchas saved my life and changed my life forever. And it's really an honor to have my. It's a dream to have my book at Chuchas. I kid you not. I used to dream to actually see my book in there. So so to actually have it in there is super awesome. And so please get it from Kid Chuchas to support them, because you know, with everything that's happening right now, I want to make sure I support my local bookstore and cultural center around here. They have so much to offer, and they've helped the community so much. They really are a gift to the community, and if you know them, like they won't say no to you. They're angels, like you know, they're complete angels, and they deserve all the help in the world. So get my book to Kid Chuchas and help them out, and help me out to help us out. And
yeah.
also listen to my story.
Yes, get Juan's book. And oh my gosh, it's an amazing like I was saying that this is great. Like we don't hear from immigrant authors, especially in the in the United States. Uh, you know, there's so much stigma on immigrants, and I mean even beyond that, there's just so much just nationalism or racism, or there's no real border on earth, you know, aside from the water barriers around the land. But
Where
it's just it's I think it's brave of you, Juan, to share your story, to be real about it, to not hold back on anything. I mean, and to be a witness and share what you've seen. I mean, and everyone, this story, I mean, he crossed when he was a kid. So this is coming from like a 10-year-old's perspective. Not the whole book, but a lot of this, you know, the first chapter. I mean, this is when he was a kid. So you know, I mean, I think it's just so important that we are exposed, as many people, U.S. citizens are exposed to immigrant stories and understand, and like they get so dehumanized, you know, because they migrated from somewhere else, and then there's just so much more behind all that. We could have a whole discussion on this topic. But I want to thank you for your book, and also I want to ask the last question. Um, is just this is 100,000 poets for change. What is your? Hold on, I typed it up here. How did I phrase it? Sorry. I like Jessica. What message do you want to give? There it is. What message do you want to give for 100,000 poets for change 2020? And like maybe just like a one phrase or one sentence answer.
The one phrase for the world. Wow, you put me in the spot here.
I'm gonna ask everybody this question as we close, as y'all finish your reading. So get you are
uh,
Karo, you can have some time to prepare. What is your message for 100,000 Poets for Change 2020?
I'm a, I'm a lover, but I'm also a warrior. And I love, um, I love to defend peace, and I love to love. Love is such a crazy concept, and wow, that was longer than just one sentence. Because people could love different things, and people could love to hate, and that's dangerous. But I love peace, and I love ethical peace and justice, and and just I love yourself and love your neighbor. Um, Period. I think that's it. I think love yourself and love your neighbor,
Beautiful.
because it's very important that you love yourself, but it's also very important that you love your neighbor. And you won't be able to love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. That's really what it comes down to. So
Little twist on that in this show I watch. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I have it quoted. I love to defend peace. Juan Cardenas. As in it,
absolutely,
ethical peace and justice. Love yourself and your neighbor. Thank you. So
thank
again,
you,
check out Juan Cardenas. Thank you for being part of the new author showcase, September.
thank you, Jessica. Yay!
And now we're gonna bring it over to Caro Scott. Caro, it's please if you could share a segment of your book, Gathering Grandmothers as Bones.
Um,
All
yeah. So is it okay if I share something that I is not in my book first, or did you want me to share from my book?
if you're feeling the call to read a new piece, that's fine. But at least read a couple from the book. That'd be
Okay.
great.
Yeah. I'm gonna read mostly from my book. I just this one piece that has been calling me. And again, it's because I think I'm gonna start bleeding soon. So this piece is calling me right now. Um, and this is actually also dedicated to all the people that have died due to police and state violence. And I know that Breonna Taylor's, no one is surprised that no one got convicted or charged for for her murder, but it's still really awful. And I think there's a lot of police and state violence that happens not only in the U.S. but all over the world. And so I this poem is to that, and I guess also my menstruation. It's called "The Day I Spilled Menstrual Blood All Over the Bathroom Floor at an Alta Med Clinic in East Los Angeles." I pull out my menstrual cup, slippery in my fingers. It collapses from the weight of my womb. Splat. The teal tiles below embrace the viscous, watery clumps. The teal tiles welcome red cells twined together like primordial fish or thick tadpoles. Blood scurries down my thighs, a vermilion creek of wounded wisdom, painted on the floor like a Jackson Pollock painting or a Aurora Starch test. What do I see? A moth, a butterfly, my grandmother's face. The egg that made me was in my grandmother's womb, in my mother's baby body. The grandmother who would later tell my mother, I have no daughter. I collapsed from the weight of my womb, remembering before I was born, I was part of their flesh. Now all of our fleshes lay exposed. I wipe our intergenerational trauma from the bathroom floor. If only it were so easy. My therapist asks me where I carry my mother's and my grandmother's racism, where their disdain for Indians and Muslims hide in my body, a self hate burrowing under my skin. I collapse from the weight of my womb. I rub the crimson from the crevices between the tiles. Think how my father survived Operation Searchlight. Wasn't one of the boys executed by the Pakistani army. In the leftover rivulets of blood, I see the people murdered in the Buriganga River, their bodies left to float downstream, one by one. I scrub and scrub, but I can't erase history. I collapse from the weight of my womb. See history repeat when the Pasadena police kill Anthony McLean. See history repeat when in Vermont they shoot Jacob Blake in the back. History spills in the headlines. Blood not mine spills in the concrete. Fury, mine, swims in my uterus, infuses my cervix. My vulva screams and screams. My ovaries spark and ignite. I roar across centuries, a menstrual monster, spitting bloody pulp on highways and high rises. My womb collapsing, soaking oceans, filling forests, drenching deserts, destroying a planet with the promise of rebirth. Um, and yeah, I think that's like my, my angry poem, my angry menstruation poem at all the violence that does happen in this world. Um, that a lot of it is done by governments, whether it's here or anywhere else across the world. Okay, so now I'm gonna read from my book, Catherine Grandmother's Bones, and so I'm also an immigrant to here, and I feel like that's actually something that like I don't embrace as much for whatever reason, but I mean I do. I guess I don't know. I just feel like it's not something that I talk about as much, and not and like I don't know. Maybe it is part of this whole like thing where like yeah, people who there's shame in not being from here, and I feel like part of it is like that my internalization of that, and like that's something that I'm trying to obviously turn over and not be a part of. So I wanted to read this poem, and this is the first poem that I actually wrote specifically for my chapbook. And English isn't my first language. I learned English when I was about like 7 or 8 years old. And so, when I first started writing, I started writing in my native language, which is Polish, because that's where I was born, was in Poland. So this poem is called I Dream in a Language I Can't Remember. At night, murmurs tickle my tympanic membrane. Dreams in a language I can't understand. Early childhood snapshots swirl. I translate the photographs from images to sounds. Under a raven sky, we escape Poland, escaping threats of theft and kidnapping. In the doorway of my first home, my mom asks me to lie. She doesn't want our neighbors to know. I feign a toothache, my voice rising in fear and fake pain. The first time I remember lying, but I don't recall the Polish words for tooth or ache or it hurts. Yet I said those words on my last day in Warsaw. I dream of the train ride whisking us away, staring at blurred black through the window, not seeing stars. This memory returns and returns, a snapshot suspended, a fruit fly in a glass of Pinot Noir. Looking out, thinking in a no-moon language, crossing borders where they take my mom's cigarette cartons. I dream of this night in a language I can't remember, trying to make sense of leaving. I wake up, translating, whispers cocooning me, my tongue probing my mouth for the tender tooth. So yeah, that's that poem. And so then I wanted to read. So this next one is the one I talked about in the beginning, where I was like, oh, I wrote this poem, and this is sort of like what started my whole chapbook. Is when this is a poem that I wrote for the Contra Si Cafe class I don't remember the prompt for it, but this is what I wrote, and then this is why Luis was like, "Oh, I really want to write, I really want to help you publish your book." Or it's called Opioid Crisis. I'm sick. My mother's mantra. Her motorcycle cracked brain, her sizzling neurons, not found on neurological scans. Her diagnosis, epileptic, an accident at 16. American doctor prescribes Tegretol for seizures, lorazepam, temazepam, clonazepam for opiate-drenched pharmaceutical companies paying, buying doctors. I want her to be like other mothers. Social worker does not think the heavy sedatives are killing her. My cousin takes the same ones. American opiate crisis. 76 billion pills scattered across quivering hands. No one listens to a child. An invisible monster eats my mother. A decade of psychoactive narcotics caused schizophrenia. She imagines a man lives in the ceiling. He threatens her, pounds on the walls, watches her piss. She stops eating, puts trash in the fridge. 5150'd. A therapist agrees the opiate doses are too high. A week later in the ER, what's the harm if she's already addicted? Contradicted. She's disappearing, detaching. Her impulsive brain tricks her. She's sick. I'm a child. Who takes care of who? Opiate fractured mother daughter relationship. I'm sick too. Sick of corporate government funded drug dealers, black and brown marijuana providers in corporate government funded cages. What is the word for doctors hooked on Jacksons? What is the word for an overpilled, overprescribed American population? What is the word for a mother buried 6 feet under gossamer amber vials? The word for grief without a funeral. Um, God. So that is that one. And then I'm gonna share one more.
So incredible, Karo. You're such an amazing writer. Just
Oh, thank
visual,
you.
everything. We're with you, and it's just like, oh my God, awesome. I love reading your poetry. It's just so vivid, and
Thank
it's like
you.
I always get a gut punch from it. So I like that. I like you heard me. You're a really good, freaking
Uh,
amazing.
okay. So I'm gonna read this one. I think for my last one. It's called "When I Grow Up." One. On provided lines I write. When I grow up, I want to be my mom because she likes cleaning gutters. My third grade teacher tapes her dreams on the wall. In my picture, the broom's yellow fibers match my mom's dyed blonde hair. Mom says, want more. Two, why is a stethoscope slung on your neck, earpieces gleaming worth more than calluses sprouting on fingers? Why is a white lab coat, your name engraved in its thick fibers, worth more than lawnmowers roaring under palms? Why is a company paid iPhone worth more than a ketchup speckled, pallid black apron reeking of soy sauce? No one wants their kid to be an artist. In a You Can Be Anything picture book, a tickle me pink, lipstick elephant wearing an hourglass business suit runs for president. On the last page, she sits in the Oval Office, grinning, headlight framed behind her, first woman president. Helping my mom study for her citizenship test, I stumble across these words. Must be born in the US to be president. Who can want more? Three, I don't want more on colonized land built by slave labor. I don't want more Border Patrol officers firing tear gas at migrants fleeing famine. I don't want more detention facilities or face down bodies floating in the Rio Grande or Jacqueline Kayel's dying. I don't want more modern day plantation prisons or Eric Garners or Trayvon Martins or Sandra Bland's. I don't want more made in Bangladesh labels stitched at the back of my throat. I don't want more men murdering, misgendering, misnaming trans women. I don't want more tents lining freeway overpasses next to high end, high rent, high rises. I don't want more war. I don't want a government stealing my paycheck for drone strikes in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia. I don't want more. Do you? Or when I grow up, when I grow, when. Um, and then just a comment about this poem is just like, rereading this is like, I wrote this probably like a year or more ago. And it's like the names, were the names that were like, were more, were like at the time that was happening. And now it's like you can, there's different names now, which is like horrific to think that like, this is just has been continuing on. And same thing with like the name of the countries. It's just like there's more and more countries where this is sort of atrocities are happening, and it's yeah, it's all really terrible. And I just the American Empire is just terrible, and we're living in it, and yeah, I always get stuck with like not knowing how to move forward with that, knowing that we're here. And like, what do we do? What do we do when there's so many people that are dying? And yeah, I'm sorry. This is sort of a not a very happy note to end on, but really that's kind of where I'm at right now. So.
No, it's real. It's super real. And what we can do is that we can write it. We can write about it. Use our skill to share, and also to connect with more people, and wake more people up, and just be vocal about it, and have those conversations wherever we go, right? I mean, if we can make impact in our own personal network, and then work our way out too, like that's doing something. And and the last question about what is your message? I kind of think that might have been it right there, but your message for 100,000 Poets for Change 2020.
I mean, this is probably going to be cliche, but burn it all down and let's rise from the ashes. That is.
I love it. All right.
That's pretty much where I'm at right now, because I'm so done. I'm so done with everything. Yeah.
Right, be the phoenix and rise up. I love it. And a lot more people are rising with us too. I'm sorry, I'm putting this in the chat, and rise from the ashes. But one thing that I'm noticing, and like I've been involved, I've been an activist or an artivist I've been with 100 TPC. I've been a part of this movement for 10 years that it's been around so far. And before that, I was writing, and a lot of times I was writing about veterans and homelessness, and the way that the country treats veterans and things like that. But not since George Floyd, but even before then, I guess since Trump, because that really made things so visible, like more people are willing to take up, hold hands with us in activism and move forward. Like we've seen lots of more actions and rallies and protests, and people being vocal, people empowering themselves, allowing, being empowered, just more people speaking up, more everyday people speaking up. And that's so important. That's what we need. We need we need everybody. Remember the whole Occupy, the 99%. The whole 99%, we need everyone to come together and rise up to change this system, just like we need everyone to get this freaking COVID thing over with, right? You're saying if everyone wears a mask for 6 months solid, right, we'll be out of this crap. But yeah, the more people that join and come together and just voice what's going on, and just be an advocate for change, we'll get there. I'm seeing more and more people rising up, so that makes me happy to know that it's not just the super vocal poets, or those that already been just banging on the door for decades, but that there's more of the everyday, the people or family, they're stepping up, they're coming together, they're taking action.
I agree. I feel like there is more people stepping up, and and I feel like, yeah, it makes us all like more, like makes it okay for me to like say this and not, and not feel like people can be like, what, burn it all down, what? But so it's like it's everyone is, we are coming together in this, in this moment, and I only hope that it can, it keeps going, and yeah,
Awesome.
see some actual
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, magic of the change, baby. We all gotta bring our magic. Awesome. Thank you, Gato Ska, everybody. Woo, Gato Snaps. Awesome, powerful poet. And now we're gonna close the show. Margo, it's your reading segment. And then I'll wrap up with your message for 100,000 Poets for Change.
Okay. I just want to say, I feel like crying hearing your work, Karo, and also you, Juan. It's just right. All I can say is right on. Beautiful. I can't wait to read both of your books. And that last poem, I mean, the first poem you read, Karo, are you going to be publishing it somewhere? What's your...
The first poem? No, I haven't. It hasn't been published or anything. It's fairly new.
Okay, well, think about Wonelli Press.
Okay, I definitely will. Yes.
I love. Oh my God, it just says everything.
Thank you.
Jessica, thank you again. I love you deeply, deeply. So I'm just going to read. I think I'm going to read 2 short poems from Plexiglass. And then I want to read a very short 1-page essay about the effect of incarceration on kids. Okay. So here's one. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay, good. So I'm big, black, and short on green, writes the tall, dark, handsome man. This is the last time, more than 17 years. Revolving door, this time, after 18 months, splits with a swish and a nod. 3 weeks later, a hospital emergency room, 1 foot amputated, diabetes. Now back on crutches with a plastic leg, flesh colored, but not his flesh. Son of a father who left, came back to take son to the movies, to a theme park, give a gift bicycle, or said he was, and didn't. The son of a mother's guilt and frustration, making him the center of her universe, until she met another man with other children. The new family, a melting pot where everyone got burned. No more center, he does not see the irony of the women he pimped as crutches. Now 45, going on 96, tries to solder where he was at 10. His left foot gone, he hides why he is in this time, as he hobbles around with a prosthesis that hurts, the nub of a leg whole and no longer, just like when a little boy, whole, no longer, uncentered, without a foot that once anchored him as his mother had, even when she took away the ground. When told, as an adult, no one is that special to be at the center of the universe, he writes, what do they know? Small, white, and full on green. And then the other poem from the book, thank you. 60 men sleep, eat, urinate, defecate, masturbate, shower, shave, cut hair, work out, write letters, write poems, write songs, make collect calls, beg for favors, beg for quiet, beg to be left alone, pray, play cards, gamble with commissary, read, borrow, steal, watch TV in one room. That'll be the all of it. One deputy, bored, on full alert in less than 60. That was when when I worked in the old jail, the old county jail, they had like a warehouse size room. There were about 8 of them. And they were built for like 40, 45 men, and they shoved like 60, 75, 80 men. So the bunks were very small next to each other. These were like single cots, very close to each other. When I taught at San Quentin, they had 3 layered bunks, and there was probably only a foot between them. And they had, again, like the warehouse size room that was called a dorm, right? Right. So, and then when you walked in there, there was no privacy with the toilets. So there'd be a row of toilets with nothing, no curtains, no nothing. And then there would be tables people were eating on, and the beds there. It was really.
Wow. Yeah, that's 3-layer bunks with like a foot between the.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it really says a lot that people caged like that don't kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine, like, with the horrible stress of being in such an oppressive environment, and you have absolutely no space to yourself? And the food that they serve is very small. It's like food for children, and of course, really unhealthy. And an officer told me once, we don't give them a lot of food because we want them to fight each other over food and not fight us. It's completely sick.
Yeah.
Really sick.
Dehumanized for sure,
Yeah.
And
what people don't often talk about, let alone the men and women and boys and girls in juvenile hall being incarcerated, is all of what happens to the families, what happens to the little kids. So I want to read this short essay. It's called Broken. One day on a substitute teaching assignment, I was sent to an elementary school at the very end of a block in an area of San Francisco where many of my jail students were raised and live when they're out of jail, barring parole conditions. Some of them were likely to have gone to the same school and probably had children there now. The kindergarten teacher was having a great deal of difficulty controlling her students, so I was assigned to assist her. In the morning, I worked with one group after another at their tables as they struggled through their basic reading assignments, while she attempted to counsel a group of 3 or 4 children who couldn't sit still long enough to do any work. After recess, a little boy, no more than 6 years old, came hopping back into the classroom on one leg. My leg is broken, he cried. Let me look at it, I said, concerned. He pointed to the middle of his shin, tears running down his face. Wait here, I said, I'll look at the nurse. The teacher was too preoccupied to notice as she tried to corral the other children to sit quietly on the rug, facing the whiteboard. On the left side of the board, she had pasted a large poster on which was a ladder with the colors yellow, orange, and red to denote gradations of bad behavior. In between loudly calling the names of children who weren't listening, the teacher, clearly out of her league, scribbled the names of the offenders on the lower rungs. In the office, I told the secretary about the boy and asked to see the nurse. She barely looked up, flapping her hand dismissively. He walked into the office after recess, so it's obviously not broken. I went back into the classroom and sat with the boy who was still crying. Show me where your leg is broken. He rolled up the right leg of his jeans and pointed to his shin. An idea popped into my head. Listen, I said, I'm going to get some magic ointment. That should make it feel better. He looked at me doubtfully, wide-eyed through his tears. I rummaged through a stack of papers and books near the sink next to the back window, searching for anything that would do. A bottle of hand sanitizer emerged. I tore off a piece of brown paper towel and pumped a little onto it. Here, I said, handing it to him, let's rub this on. He looked at it quizzically, his sobs suddenly still. That's hand sanitizer, he blurted distrustfully. Yes, but there's magic in it, I said authoritatively. Come on, let's rub it on your leg. He reluctantly took the paper towel from me and with long strokes rubbed the ointment into his skin. Then he looked up and said, it's still broken. I thought fast. Put your hands over your heart and fill them with love. What? He's looked at me as if to say, you're crazy, lady. I repeated, put your hands over your heart and fill them with love. I placed his hands, palms downward, on his chest. Now breathe in all the love you got in there. He looked at me questioningly, but obediently closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Now place your hands on your leg and give it love, I instructed. That will heal it. With great seriousness, he placed his palms on his leg with his eyes closed and breathed in and out a few times. Is it feeling better? He nodded. Okay, now off you go back to your desk. The boy hopped on one leg toward his desk and banged into the edge of a console piled with books. Ow, he cried, grabbing his arm. My arm is broken. Trying not to laugh, I went for some more hand sanitizer. We followed the same procedure as before, but now on his arm. This time, I didn't have to tell him to heal himself with love. He placed his hands on his heart and his arm automatically, with a dedicated expression on his face. At the end of the day, after all the children had left the classroom, the boy came back in while I was chatting with the paraprofessional. She was an elderly woman with years of experience at the school and had joined the class for the afternoon to individually tutor children on their literacy and math skills. Call your grandfather, she reminded him. The boy rummaged in his pale blue backpack stained with dirt and pulled out a cell phone. Grandpa, come and get me, he called loudly into the phone. And then, the little man that he was, went outside to wait with the teacher who was on yard duty. Does his grandfather normally pick him up, I asked. The paraprofessional turned to continue putting away her folders. His mother was arrested last night, she said matter-of-factly. The police turned up at their house and took her away.
That was so amazing, but also just it made me cry. The love that you gave him to empower himself, to love himself, to heal himself. Like, that was beautiful.
That made me cry. I cried also.
Yeah.
Because that's probably one of the first times that little boy felt anything like that.
It's so sad, so sad, you know. I mean, his mother could have been a very loving mother, you know what I mean? Look at Breonna Taylor, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, you know, yeah, it's really tragic. And, you know, that is a school that's the school to prison pipeline, you know?
Right. Yeah, teachers, there's some teachers that just don't care. They're like so burnt out, so disconnected, and they're just burdened by these students. But a lot of kids, they're not getting attention. They're not getting like the just basics of like what it feels like to have a home, to have security, or to have like an adult like really care for them, and that they know it's like an unconditional love, you know. So they're just kids start putting up walls because they're tired of being hurt. They start being angry, and you know that leads them down a different path and altogether. But I mean, it's so impactful, and that's why, like, Margo, you're a teacher, you know, with Cal Poets, and you know, just outreaching, and Juan too, and Rosie, and you know, the work that we do. You know, we can be that person that takes that moment to be with them, to be like, okay, what's wrong? Let's give you some love, you know, and just like change their whole world, you know, like show them that they matter, that someone is listening to them and sees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, someone told me once, even if
beautiful.
somebody listens to you for half an hour, that can change your life. And that actually happened to me, because when I was 18, I mean, you know, I left home as soon as I could when I was 16. I mean, I was just out of there. And, you know, I thought everything was going to be great, which is what you kind of think when you're young. Like, I'm going to leave home and it's going to be great. And it was, I moved in with my boyfriend. He kicked me out after 3 weeks. I was, you know, I was living in like abandoned buildings and taking a lot of drugs and stuff, you know. And of course, everything just like fell apart. So when I was 18, I found this woman. There was a help center for young people. I was still living in England then. So there was a help center for young people. And luckily there was a very nice counselor there. She was just an intake counselor. And she looked at me and she said, what do you want to be? And no one had ever asked me that question, not even in the family or anything. So, and we were always moving. So I didn't have like teachers that really noticed me. I mean, they noticed me because I acted out, but they didn't know me. So I thought about it. I thought, well, I hated school. So I want to be a teacher. And she looked at me and she goes, you would make a great teacher. You're so warm. And I was like, oh my God, it was like the sun came out. I spent like probably 20 minutes with her. And I eventually did become a teacher, So, you think about that. And I feel like all these things that I can do as a teacher, it's thanking that woman, like, thank you. Thank you for seeing something in me,
Yeah, we just want to be seen.
Yeah, love.
Like, you matter, like, we see you, little light. You can do it, little. You can do it. Make an imprint in the world. We all have that capability, and that's beautiful when someone sees that in you, that light, that potential. When they just acknowledge you, it can mean everything.
Because I really feel like it's so important to, we're always kind of, when people say things about us, it can often be kind of like critical or judgmental or assuming things about us because of the way we look or whatever bone somebody wants to pick, like what they're acting out from in their own world. But I don't think we appreciate each other enough generally. And I think it's really good to always say something appreciative about somebody. And somebody just pointed out to me, if you tell someone they're beautiful, it's like, if they were born like if they look beautiful and they're born beautiful, it's like they don't really feel that they take ownership of that, But if you say to someone, oh, I really love that necklace you're wearing, or I really love that poem you wrote, I really love the shirt you chose to wear today, that means a lot more because that's our identity, we're choosing this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Gratitude and appreciation definitely goes a long way. And I love that you said that. Like, I personally been more conscious to let people know that I appreciate them. And I think it's just also in the light of this time, the pandemic, and I mean, life has always been fragile, but we take it for granted. And we're just all running every which way, doing a million things.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much negativity, so much disaster out there right now. I mean, and that's come to light, that we can't escape. And I feel just like showing some appreciation for the moment, for whoever I'm with, or like, why not let them know that right now, And it feels good, to be acknowledged or appreciated.
I mean, you're very loving, Jessica. You are one of the most loving people I know. I mean, you're so appreciative. You're so kind, and you have so much grace. You definitely bring that to the world. I mean, I think also it's about bringing restorative justice because we're not going to get along with everybody, or we're going to get along with the few. But I just had something. This woman put something on. She's like a friend of a friend, and she put something on Facebook. And I just thought, white women have been talking about, like, since the 70s, there was this movement for white women to actually start listening to women of color, And this woman, she's white, and she put something down like, wow, I just had this meeting with these Black women, and they were telling me, and it's like, wow, we should start groups and da 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 da. And I was like, listen, what is it going to take? It's been going on for so many years. It's been going on for 400 years. Where Black women have been trying to make white women listen to them, or, not just men and women, not just women, but men and women, So anyway, she really took offense. I said, it's great what you're doing, but, until we're willing to give up power, there's nothing's going to change, and give up this idea that we're superior because we're white. Nothing's going to change, right? So
Right
she
on.
got really offended and wrote a real snippety back to me. Then I started like writing back to, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to have a Facebook fight. So I
Oh, God.
messaged her. I said, look, I don't want to have a Facebook fight. You know, I just want to say, you know, I'm sorry you misunderstood. This is what I meant. I just repeated exactly what I said. And then she got all snippety snip. And then I just like, you know, fuck you. And I didn't say it, but I just unfollowed her. Like, I just like blocked her, you know. And then she texted me. I didn't even know she had my phone number because she's a friend of a friend. She texted me the next morning and she goes, can we talk on the phone? You know, really try not to have fights with people. And I was like, I said, okay. So we're like sending each other. And I was like, oh my God, it was really a wonderful experience for me too. Very humbling to kind of, she reached out and I was like, you know what? There's enough shit in the world, you know? So, you know, I still made my point, but I said to her, I'm sorry I was so harsh the way I made it. And then she said, yeah, I've been doing this work since the 70s. I'm frustrated too. Da 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 da, you know. And then I
Yeah.
felt like filled with love. So at the end, we're like loving each other. I thought, oh wow, if we could just do that, right?
Good. Yeah, you enlightened her, but you both like are for the same cause, the same, you know, the equality for women, all women, all humans, human equality. How about that? Make it
I
easy.
know,
Human
exactly.
equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Tongo. I don't know if you know Tongo Ison Martin, but he's one of the people who's doing that poetry project.
No.
He's fantastic, and he actually did a great review of my book. I love him. So
Okay.
he just had this experience, which is not unusual. So he passed by this white couple, and they were wearing Black Lives Matter masks, and the woman clutched her handbag. You know, yeah, it's that, you know, that old thing of thinking black men are gonna steal from you.
Oh my God.
So it's like, I'm really glad people are talking about that though. People are really, and
Yeah.
that's what all of us poets are doing. We're sharing our experiences.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need that. We need that, you know, to connect, find connections, commonality, but also just to reveal like our experiences. And it's not the same for everybody. I mean, one person's like a happy never land to someone's hell, right? So it's important that we write and we share and we have those conversations, you know. Like I was writing about white fragility too, and I was just like, in that book, I think it was White Fragility, the book White Fragility. It's just that white fragility is what keeps racism going or white supremacy going. It's because they don't acknowledge it, they don't face it. They're just like, oh no, you know, like just, oh, I can't go there. Well, then all the other people are getting killed because you're too afraid to talk about a sensitive topic. You know, it's just, you know, it doesn't, it has to be put aside and has to be confronted. And I mean, if you're for equality, you're for everybody having, you know, justice and accessibility and you know, like for equality, like then you got to open your mouth and stand with us, you know. um Yeah, thank you, Margo. Like I think thank you for that and for your activism and for being a white woman that is you know, supporting women of color, people of color, but also being a voice, you know, for them and sharing their voices through your press. And I mean, that's so important. Um and also not being afraid to have those conversations with other white folks and like, hey, wake up, sister, you know, like just that's awesome. You're converting you're converting them, or you're just helping them see like, I thought I was going the right direction, but you know, you're right, there's more that I can do. There's and a lot of it, it's decolonizing our thought too. I mean, sometimes it's just
Exactly.
patterns and generational traumas or habits, and you know, like, and here we are. So everyone's awake now, so it's like change that narrative, change that behavior, and you know, burn it down, right, and rise up, rebuild. Like, um
Yeah, I haven't, you know, it's funny what you say about happy people. I made a t-shirt. I don't feel good when people around me are happy all the time.
yeah.
But it's like,
Oh my
be
god.
real, right?
Yeah,
But
be
also,
real.
yeah. And also what Juan said, you know, you know, it's like, you don't want to walk around saying, I love myself, you know, but it's like you really do have to face your own shadow and be comfortable with the shit inside you in
Mm,
order to actually be more accepting of other people, you know, and see
yeah,
people, you get more in touch with your own humanity, you'll be much more in touch with other people's humanity.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna put that down. To be in touch with your own humanity, you'll be more in touch with others as well. Oh, and Rosie's asking where can we find the review? His review,
Oh, if you look at the back of the book, Rosie, when I come and visit you and give you a signed copy, look at the back of the book and you'll see. Do you want me to? I can read it out. You want to hear it? You want to hear it? Tongo is an extraordinarily gifted poet. Okay, he wrote, Plexiglass is a beautiful dispatch from the sea line of human oblivion, where teacher and student find insights like a graveyard shift for a church pianist. A smile inching through the corridors of a prison industrial complex. Our humanity is repressed, but still lightning. Here is revealed the physics of a trench where poems become veins, turning empty space into flesh.
Wow.
He's something, Tongo.
Poet.
He's
That is some
really a
serious
poet.
poetry. That was a review.
Yeah,
Dang.
that was
That's
amazing. And he won the American Book Award for a poetry book about 2 years ago.
oh, great.
You should look him up. He's just beautiful.
Oh, that's
And he
awesome.
works a lot in, like, he has taught a lot. He taught in Rikers. You know, he's taught in jails, prisons, and he's a real activist.
How do you spell his name again? I could put it here in the chat.
Here, Tongo. And
Or
if you
yeah.
look at the Ison Martin, if you look at the Facebook page with the poetry project, you'll see him.
Okay.
He should be posting soon. Yeah.
Congo Ice Martin. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Okay. So I wanted to thank everyone. I want to wrap up the night. We did kind of go over, but it was worth it. I don't regret anything. Everyone, you're all invaluable, and I appreciate everybody. I mean, you're all amazing. All you, Juan, Cardenas, Margo, Perin. I want to call you Margo Perin. I want to like accent everything.
All right, go for it.
Margo Perin in Karo. Thank you for being our guests, the LA Poet Society's guests of the New Author Showcase. And Margo, what was your message for 100,000 Poets for Change?
I'm just so filled with the magic of what you've created tonight, Jessica, and just how, you know, this is a really synchronistic kind of, just a beautiful, the synthesis of us all sort of melding together tonight.
No.
It's been really, really amazing. I mean, amazing, just incredible, you know. So I would say to 100,000 poets, more of this.
Yeah. Good. More of this coming together. Yeah, I know. I love it. I love seeing how we all connect, and you know, and then even if we are familiar with each other, there's always like more that we can dig in, more and more. Like it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be in community with each other. And I feel like everybody here, everyone is still here that was signed in the beginning. So I want to give big snaps and love to our audience. Mwah. Thank you for hanging with us for the New Author Showcase and for your questions. I hope you got all the links for everyone's books. Also, if you want, like I said, I was saying earlier, send me or type your email in the chat, and I'll email you the transcript from tonight. So that way you have all those golden nuggets that were dropped from the authors in regards to their publishing journey, their story, writing their books, and you know, staying firm to your creative vision, and you know, and also the links to their book pages so you can buy them and support local writers and local authors, independent artists. You know, why give your money to a corporation when you could give it to an artist? It's really gonna make their day, and it's gonna help support them and keep them fed for that next book. So I want to thank you again. I love it. Everybody was beautiful and wonderful. I want to share some of our upcoming events before I close out. I'm just going to share our flyers. This is 100,000 Poets for Change weekend. This is our second event. On our Instagram, we have an exquisite corpse that we started. The theme is Los Angeles Poets for Justice, or Poets for Justice, and then everyone can submit a line and share. So let me show you what's happening. Woohoo, 100,000 Poets for Change LA. I was trying to plug in my PowerPoint, but ran out of time. So I'm gonna just show you here on our fabulous Instagram. So tomorrow, what we have, or here's all of our events for 100 TPC. So we had our Angel Hour. We were talking about toxic mothers yesterday on our Instagram. And our Exquisite Corpse, we were just asking for prompts or you know, for you to submit your lines to that. And you can do that through Instagram as well. And this was our new author showcase. Yay! Tomorrow we have a huge marathon reading featuring poet Richard Modiano. And on Sunday we have the open mic for the people. And Estela Cordero, who's here in the Zoom tonight, is going to be hosting that. And Estelle, I'm gonna hook up with you, and we're gonna go through our technical run probably tomorrow or Sunday morning. But actually,
Definitely.
open mic is gonna be on Zoom, and and we can have it feed to Facebook, so we don't have to be on Facebook Live. I worked all that out today.
You're gonna have to teach me because I'm not really technical savvy with that stuff. So tomorrow morning we could talk.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll do a run through and just kind of go through it. And then this is info on Juan's narrative poetry workshop. So it starts October 3rd. So that's actually, I think that's next Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. It's free. Just have to register for it. You can email us at losangelespoetsociety@gmail.com. Again, or you can just go to our Instagram here. All the info is posted here, or our website, lapoetsociety.org. And the other thing I wanted to show you was, oh yeah, and then later in October, we're having Halloween. I hope you all can join for that. We're doing a reading of Howl, and be in costume, bring your book, and we have prizes, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be through Zoom, so that's a little Halloween fun that we're gonna do. And what else do I want to show you? You're all gonna see my desktop. Oh, here. This is some of the lineup for tomorrow's marathon. So it's also going to be on Zoom. And I'll be posting this flyer tonight sometime. But yeah, Richard Modiano, Louisette Resto, Connie Williams, Ellen Mabey, Cecilia Wallach, she's going to try to make it. We're dedicating it to Yvonne de la Vega. Again, she was she launched the first 100,000 Poets for Change LA, and I was her assistant. So I learned from her, and she passed away last December. So we're dedicating this 10-year movement to her. We're gonna read some of her poetry. Her son is gonna be joining us, Blaze Smith. Anyhow, there's my kid in one. But yeah, lots of great stuff happening. So again, this will be on our Instagram, which is also on our lapoetsociety.org, our homepage. So lots happening, but thank you all for being a part of this event. This was phenomenal, and honestly, I'm so happy with how everything worked out tonight. And blessings and love to everyone. I think that's all I have to say tonight. Until tomorrow for the marathon at 2 p.m. on Zoom.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes, and you're all welcome to be a part of that too. It's a marathon, so just pop in and poem. You know, pop in, do a poem, stay, or pop out, whatever you want to do.
You know, I haven't said anything this evening, but I wanted to just thank every reader and Jessica for you providing this. This is such a unique time in the world where we're kind of disenfranchised and alone, and smoke and hatred out there. And it was such a beautiful evening of everyone's story. And it just reminds me of the beauty of that. And thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marcy. Thank you for
And the
hanging out.
honesty of all the poets. Thank you.
Yes, to all the
Thank
poets.
you.
Woo! It takes a lot of courage to share those stories, and also, like I said, to dive in that pain and share it, put it on paper.
Thank you for providing this spirit here for everyone.
My pleasure. And also, that reminds me, we're doing this every month, the New Author Showcase. So if you want to be a part of the next one, let me know. You can send us. Sorry, my eyes are getting dry. But yeah, you can always send it. Be in touch with the LA Poet Society on Facebook, Instagram, our website. I'll put it here too, lapoetsociety.org. But we're always looking. You know, we want to support new authors, people with new books out, especially during time of COVID. You know, this show's for you. If you have friends with books, you know, let them know that we're doing this, and we'd love to see everybody. And I think I originally was hoping to have 5 authors, but the way tonight went, I think 3 is perfect. So that way we get it, everyone gets a chance to really talk, and there can be a cross dialogue, and then, you know, interaction with the audience and a reading. So I think it worked out well. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Estella. Thank you to San Juanita, Jeremy, Rosie. Thank you for being our audience and for tuning in with us. And to everybody on YouTube that's going to see this, we love you. Like and subscribe to our channel. Share. And much love to everyone. If no one else has anything to say, peace and love.
Peace,
100,000
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
We love
Thank you.
Love you, love you, love you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, everyone. And thank you for being here. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. You rock.
My pleasure.
You get to go give her a hug now, Juan.
Lucky you. But
Aw.
Jessica, you're doing all this and you've got 2 kids. I mean, 2 young kids. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You did
Luna's
great
still,
with the kids. Yeah.
Luna's still
Those
trying
kids
to
are
go to
great.
sleep.
Oh, that's normal though. Those kids are great. They don't even make any noise.
Are they asleep?
How old are they?
2 and 3.
Oh my God.
What? They're awesome.
That's the hardest ages.
It is. It is. It
Oh,
is.
Mania. It's a crazy. No, Juan is awesome. Juan's a super dad. I know a lot of
Yeah.
moms get credit, but honestly, Juan is so loving and he's always there for them. He's he's super on it, overprotective, super crazy. But that's his style.
Yeah.
That's Juan.
Very, very good.
He's
Very
an
lucky.
octopus man. We call him Papa Octopus.
Aww.
He's on everything. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
That's sweet.
Beautiful.
You guys have a nice family. You guys are doing great. It's you're doing what's right for the time. They're 2 and 3 years old. What do you expect?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very soon, Jessica.
Yeah, they're a handful, but they're
Yes.
definitely they're good kiddos. I love them.
They are good.
19, so they grow fast.
Yeah.
And then they leave you alone. I'm alone today.
Aw.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm like, yeah. No,
I
but
know you're like, it's my time alone.
my son's 19, so it's been a long, long time that he was on his own, and he'll be in his room, and so I tell you, the time flies, and then you wonder, wait a minute, already 19? It's like, but they grow fast. They grow fast.
They grow fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just build memories for them, because that's what that's how we live, right? In the future, you live with the memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I take a lot of pictures all the time.
Am I like, I'm going crazy? That's the way. I don't know how I did it. I was also a single mom. I was a single mom.
Yeah. That's hard.
Dang.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know how
hard.
I do it. I don't know how I did it. So
I know, single parents. I don't know how y'all. That's tough.
4. Wow.
You did it.
Wow, it's 4.
I just hope
I know they survived. They're alive. You did it. You
Yeah.
survived.
Wow.
I have 4 too, but they're still here with me. And then I have a 5th one who's a boyfriend of one of them. So I have a full house. It's always, it's havoc in this house, but I love it that way. I like the noise. I like it.
Yeah. All the liveliness of the house.
Yeah, I do. I like it.
It's like they don't live with me because they don't bother me for anything. Sometimes I don't even eat my food. So
Oh, wow. Ask Jessica what I have to do every night, starting
Oh
around
my
2 or 3 o'clock.
Dang. Yeah, she does prep. She makes food for like 5 different food
7.
monsters with different
Wow.
preferences that expect like Gordon Ramsay cooking every night.
Gordon Ramsay. Yeah, I got a bunch of foodies. And so, yeah, I try. Sometimes I take a day off and I'll kick my feet up. But most of the time, there's food is expected. And that's sometimes why I don't show up to stuff or I don't do stuff on time. So I'm kind of busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my kids get home and they go, Mom, have you eaten? Because they know I'm not gonna cook for myself.
Aww.
Mom, have you had lunch? Mom, had you had dinner?
Really?
I do that because if I cook something, sometimes they won't eat it. Like, oh, we already ate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I can't wait.
Yeah. I think I spoiled mine. I think I just spoiled everybody. And then they do eat out. They do eat out. Today we did. So, but you know.
Energy. I wish I had the energy to do all that.
Huh.
What they do like is they like flour tortillas. You know.
Oh, they must be good.
They do like them. So, you know, but I don't
You
make
got to
them.
make them.
Yeah, but right now I don't have any.
Handmade tortillas. Oh God.
Yeah,
Those are
they
so good.
love them. Okay.
Hell yeah. I'm going to teach them how to make all sorts of cool things.
Teachers when they can do them.
Okay, no midnight snacking, people.
I know.
No
eating
midnight
until tomorrow.
snacking.
Juan, I'm going to send you a photograph of these 2 Japanese artists. They put together a book of inventions that should have been made. And one of them is a little kid pushing a little toy that has like a broom underneath it. So they're cleaning as they go at the age of 2.
Oh, I love it.
I'll send you
Cute.
the photograph, giving you ideas. Right?
Hey, yeah, we put Luna to work. She's 3. We're like, hey, throw that away or get Soul's wipes so we can change his diaper. Like, pick up that, pick this up. I'm like,
That's good.
Anything she can help with, I'm like, do it.
That's
Yeah,
good.
they like it.
She's a good big sister.
Because later on, when they're older, they won't do it. When you tell
They
them,
won't do it. They won't do it.
I make them do it. They know that. They know that when
Good
I say
luck.
that's it.
Good luck.
Anyway, go, Jessica. You must be so tired.
And my contacts are dried out. I'm like,
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Love you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Support everybody. Share.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Juan,
The chat. Send me your email.
your music sometimes is my writing music. I want you to know that.
Oh, really?
Aww.
Flute, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
tell my daughter, look, this is my writing music. So
Wow. Oh my God. Thank you so much.
but I tell her, look at this guy. Look at my teacher. I said, he plays the flute. So the other
Oh my God.
so he plays.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely.
I'll see you.
Bye, Stella. Bye.
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 Adios.
Good night. Thank you.
Buenas
We'll
noches.
talk later,
Buenas noches.
Estella. And good night, San Juanita. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes,
We gotta get everybody in the shirt next time. Well, yeah, 3. That's pretty good. 3 people.
I think like this with my classes also it's been crazy. This distance learning is horrible for teachers. Horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of good things, you know. I don't have to like, oh, you know, do all my makeup and my shoes and everything. And you know, and it's like right here, you know. But it's like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
A lot of work. I go to bed so late.
Oh, dang.
Right now I'm really tired.
Oh, because you gotta prepare your presentations and lecture and
And then you have it, and then they're not paying attention. They don't want to turn on their cameras.
they don't turn their camera on.
So they turn it on and they leave.
Oh.
Can you believe that? It's like,
Yeah, I sub, and most of the time I don't see anyone's face. I'm just having my talk, and it's easy. I don't know if they're really paying attention or not.
that's how it is right now.
I'm just like, I got an uninterrupted lecture. All right, you know, like.
They don't talk. They don't talk at all. I'm like, you better.
Sad.
What grade do you have?
They're middle schoolers, 7th and 8th.
Oh, no.
Ah.
They don't talk.
Yeah, it's.
I'd open a class thread. I open a class thread where we are going to go in there and ask questions. We go in there, pose a question, and anybody can answer because